All right, I just turned it on. I don't know if anybody is here yet, but if you are here, welcome. And as you guys all know, it takes me a minute or two to get everything set up. So if you just bear with me, I'll get it all set up. And actually, I have 4 people here: Jacob, Dana, Kathy, Michelle, and Robin. Hello. All right, so let me continue setting this up, and then we'll get started. Edit video. White Dove, hello. Boopster, hello. Luis, hello. J Mac, hello. Trying to tell everybody hello while I'm setting this thing up. Okay, that is on. That part of the video is on. I've also got to get a new Discord link and put that in the description. Let's see, playlist, so I know it's on a live stream. Now let's tag it and say JeffMara. Well, you know what's interesting is that YouTube shows me different ways people search for my name. I mean, search for the podcast, right? And one of the ways people search is Jeff space Mara, M-A-R-R-A. So, I don't know. For me, I just found that interesting. All right. I think that part is set up for there. Now, let me go get the new Discord in case you want to be on Discord. How many people we were at? 140, looks like. 141 Discord people, so that's pretty good. Actually, very good. Let's see. Discord. Get the copy that. Okay, new Discord. And maybe I should put a whole link in there. Just maybe that helps people if I just put an actual Zoom link. Maybe that'll be more helpful. Let me see. Let's see if I can copy this. And hit copy, and we'll put that in the description as well. The full link. And all right, so that's there too. You can either use the Zoom ID, you can use the Zoom link as well. That's underneath it. And super open line, and today is 11/27/2021. So put the date on there. All right, now let's go back and find it so I can see you guys. And the cool thing is, I think we've got a bunch of people already waiting to join, which is really nice. That doesn't find it. Let's put your channel, and I think that'll be everything. And actually, I got to do one more thing, is I've got to turn it on for my wife, so she can see it too. And she's making us each a masala chai. You guys may know it as a chai tea latte, but that's what she's up to. While she's making that, I'll turn on her computer, and there's 64 people here. Cool. All right, let me see the participants. Let's put that there. And I wish I knew who was first. If someone can tell me who is first in the chat, I can let you in while I'm switching over here. So 1 second. All right. And I saw in here Susan Leeser has been trying to get in. Susan, I messaged you the link. You see me now. So you should be able to just use that link and get in. So maybe we'll start off the bat with Alba. Now, Alba, I think she has a personal reason why she wants to come on and can't be seen. So I've made an exception for her. I mean, I've been thinking about even perhaps making an exception today. If some of you guys really want to come on and just don't want to show your face, because I believe she didn't want to show her face. So that might be, we might want to try this time and see how it goes, see how you guys like it. Let's admit Alba. Let's see what's going on with this. And it's weird because I'm getting started and there's no one to talk to, so I have nothing in my ears yet. It's a little weird for me right from the beginning.
Hello.
Hi, is this
Hi,
Alba?
Jeff. Yes, it's me. I'm
right.
excited to be here.
All right. Well, thanks for showing up. Where are you from?
I'm living in Europe.
Europe. What part of Europe?
Um, Actually, I've written my book in English and German. So my first language is German, and I've learned English in school. And I've also had a past in the United States. So I used to live in the United States as well.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Well, as I don't know if you heard me, I made an exception for you, and I may make an exception the whole night because maybe there's a lot of people that always wanted. I think you have a personal deal from whatever that you can't be seen because of your family or children or something.
Yeah, it's just about the circumstances of the accident and of the emergency operation that I had right after that, before I had my NDE. And there were some medical problems that the physicians didn't really interpret in the right way. So there was a lot of medical problems attached to it. And there could be legal problems if I tell my whole story the way it was. And just I didn't want to put my family in this position that I have to argue with people out of legal reasons. So I'm not interested in that.
Okay.
Because it's actually just about my NDE, and my family is a big part of it because I had an NDE together with my child.
All right. So it was like a shared death experience.
Yes, it was. And it's an exceptional situation if you have a NDE together with someone else. And in my case, it was my daughter who was actually clinically dead before the NDE and was resuscitated and taken to another clinic. And we were about an hour's drive apart when the NDE happened. And in our NDE, we were together. And that was a miracle in its own right. And it surprised me, to be quite honest, because I was in an ICU and she was in another ICU. And this NDE was the only way that she could reach me, or that anyone could reach me in this situation, because I was a patient right after an emergency operation. And there was a conflict situation with my husband. After the accident, he had unfortunately interpreted things in the wrong way, and out of shock he left in his car and abandoned me and our daughter. And so I had to sort this whole thing out on my own. I was in the hospital on my own, and I was full of anger, and I was extremely upset about the problem that my husband didn't take us to the hospital right away. I had to reach him by phone. I was successful, but still it was a long time span that we could have really needed medical care, especially our child who was clinically dead at the time.
So were you and your daughter in some type of accident?
Yes, I was highly pregnant at the time. I was shortly before my due date, and my daughter was an unborn child at the time of the accident. Then we had an emergency operation, which was a cesarean section, and she was delivered while I was in full anesthesia. So I had never seen her before.
Wow.
And I had to fight with the doctors because my problem was that not only did she have to be resuscitated, which I didn't know anything about because I was still in the OR. So instead of 20 or 30 minutes, this emergency cesarean section took actually about 2 hours. And the problem was that I was bleeding internally with such force that they couldn't stop the bleeding. And that's the legal part of it. They are not supposed to finish an operation uh, without stopping the bleeding, because of course the patient is still in life danger. If they just sew them up and put them somewhere in an ICU and wait for actually the worst thing to happen, for them to bleed to death. But in my case, they realized after 2 hours, there's no way that they could stop that internal bleeding. And thanks God, they sewed me up and put me in an ICU. And my husband was fortunate that a nurse told him actually about the problem. About an hour into the operation, he said he wants to get some information about what's going on. It was in the middle of the night, and this nurse told him she's not supposed to tell him anything. And then she told him it was an emergency cesarean section. And he asked, "How's my wife doing?" And she says, "Well, the problem is she's in the process of dying." And then he said, "How's my baby doing?" And she said, "Well, the baby is clinically dead and needs to be resuscitated." So my husband was in full shock, and he was informed, but he had no chance to let me know before I was transferred to the ICU.
All right. So, have you ever heard of NDEs before this even happened?
I have heard about the work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross as a student in high school, but I have not been very interested in the topic. And at the time when it happened, I was in a very negative emotional state. I was full of rage and anger and hatred against my fate, about the whole circumstances of this accident and of the problems that I knew would come up for my unborn child. And my problem at the time was that I was about to die. I had no idea about it. I thought I was already in recovery. And my daughter contacted me at the beginning of my NDE. She was a grown up person standing behind my bed. First, I just felt a presence behind my bed, asking myself, who could that be? And at the same moment, I realized it's my daughter, my child. And before I could ever process it, she already started with a telepathic discussion and asking me to forgive him. And of course, that told me that she was fully informed about the background information of this accident and the problem with my husband abandoning us, not taking us to the hospital. So she was grown up. She was absolutely in control of the situation. She knew everything of the background information. And I realized that there's something surreal going on, because I could see the normal surroundings in my ICU room, and I could see the nurse behind a glass desk, and everything felt normal. I was fully conscious, and something like this happens. Your child is grown up and tells you forgive him. And of course, in my state of inner anger and rage, I told her there's no way I will ever forgive him, because what he had done is unforgivable. And that was the problem in our discussion, in our telepathic discussion. She was like a mentor, or like a spiritual teacher, trying to guide me to find a way to excuse him for what he had done, and for me to reach forgiveness. And in retrospect, of course, it made a lot of sense, because obviously she tried to um, cleanse me of all these negative emotions in the last hour on earth, just before I was about to die. Obviously, this was important, either in the case if I was not to survive, if I would, you know, just transition and be dead in a few minutes maybe. She knew that it was vital for me to change my attitude, and I had no idea where she was coming from. And obviously she was not allowed to tell me all of the background stuff, so she just stuck with asking me to forgive him and getting some arguments out that would make me see what's going on. And at the end of our telepathic conversation, I had reached a point where I told her, I see that philosophically speaking, it makes a lot of sense to be able to forgive someone. But just in this situation, it was such an emotional effort that I was not willing to make. And I told her, I'm sorry, I will never forgive him. Not until the end of my life, for the last of my days, having no idea that this was the very day that I was in the process of dying. And I think she also wanted for me to reach forgiveness for the sake of my future life, for the life of my family, because she told me, for instance, if you don't forgive him, you will split up. There's no way that you will stay together. And I told her, I don't care, because I've been planning on splitting up with this guy for some hours now. I'm already on this path. There's no way that I would turn back and change things.
Let me stop you there. What is there to forgive? What happened that you weren't forgiving?
Well, I of course realized that the very moment when I realized that my daughter in my belly must have got a lot of adrenaline, and she should have kicked or just made a movement or something. She didn't move at all. I told him, the baby doesn't move. I need an ultrasound. I have to go to the clinic right away, to the next clinic. And he didn't understand where I was coming from. And I had no outside wounds, so there was no way for him to realize that I was in life danger. And he abandoned us, not only me, but also his child. And that's the part that I couldn't forgive, because even if he doesn't care about me, he has a responsibility for his own child, to make sure that she gets the medical treatment that's necessary. And of course, if we would have gone to the clinic right away, there was a big chance of her to be saved, and to not only be rescued, but to maybe lead a normal life, because she came back after a long time, after more than half an hour, actually more around a whole hour, because in the clinic, they also didn't believe me. They didn't do the ultrasound. So we had another waiting period for about 20 minutes before they finally checked on me the way that I wanted for them to, with an ultrasound. Then they found out, of course, I had said the truth the whole time, but nobody believed me when I said my child has no heart beat at the moment. And that's the only thing that she got back. She got back a heartbeat and no brain functions, nothing. So in reality, she was a severely handicapped newborn child. But in the spiritual realm, she was a spiritual guide, a mentor, a person of authority. So there's a big difference between, the earthly realm and the other side. And the problem for me was that it was actually a spiritual problem, because I couldn't see why I would deserve a guy like this, who would not only abandon me, but also his own child for no reason at all. He could have just believed me, but he didn't. And I think later on, I realized he was in shock. And she told me in our discussion, maybe he didn't do it on purpose. And that's when I started to realize, of course, he didn't do it on purpose. And I started to change my attitude.
Right.
But I had, yeah.
Well, let me stop you there, because I only give everybody a certain amount of time, and I'm sure I could do like a whole hour with you, but I've got to let other people have their chance.
Yeah,
But
of course.
before that, if people want to find out more about and you can come back next week and we can continue if you like. But between
That would be great.
between now and then, if anybody wants to check out your book, what is it called and where can they find it?
It's called Proof of Eternity by Albamonn, Albamonn. And it's about my near-death experience together with my child, and how it saved my life, because she told me all the relevant truths. I didn't believe them first, but there were 3 other stages in my NDE. And at the 3rd stage, I've already reached the point where I realized that she had been telling the truth from the very beginning, and I was actually able to reach forgiveness. I want to console and inspire all people who are mourning about the loss of a loved one, because I was blessed with the proof of eternity in my NDE with my daughter that made me see that there's not only this side, there's a whole lot more on the other side. And all of our decisions on earth are relevant for the next stage in our life when we transition. And I saw the Hall of Truth. I saw the scales of life, how my and my husband's life result was measured. I saw the way that eternity is looking into our character traits. So I was able to look into my character traits with percentages and different, aspects of our character traits, like maybe 50 to 100 different analyzation points. And the same was going on with my husband at the same time.
Okay.
And the thing was that I am sure that my child made a conscious decision on the other side to return out of free will and try to help us manage to bring this crisis situation back to a normal, peaceful family. And that's what she actually arrived at, and she managed to do that. And in the course of those things that she taught me in my NDE, I realized that there are truths that I had never realized before. And one of them is that our life is measured like a pile of rice, for instance. So little time, aspects of time, maybe minutes, maybe hours, they are measured by, as a whole and individually. And the result of our life is like a harvest, and it's important that it's as good as possible. And I had no idea about these things.
Right. Okay.
before my end.
I'm going to have to stop you, Alba. And thanks for coming and sharing with us. And maybe we'll see you back next week.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me, and see you next week.
Okay.
Bye, Jeff.
Bye-bye. Take care. All right. Let's go to Thayer. Thayer has been waiting a while. Let's see what's up with Thayer.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me, and see you next week. Okay. Bye, Jeff.
Bye-bye. Take care. Ask to start video. All right, let's go.
Oh,
You're up. There you are. Well, almost. There you are.
I can't believe I made it on.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
You're the second one on. You're here bright and early.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you and see you.
Hold
Thayer,
on.
where are you well, not calling, but where are you zooming from?
Oh.
What you want to do is you want to mute your YouTube video so we don't echo.
I turned it off.
Second one on. You're here bright and early. Okay. All right.
Can you hear me okay?
Perfect. Well, I'm hearing you. I'm still getting an echo. Where are you calling? Where are you? It sounds like your YouTube still isn't muted.
Okay, hold on.
What you want to do is you want to turn off your YouTube so we don't echo.
Is that better? I turned it off.
No. It's like going into infinity. I think maybe you got it. Sounds quiet now. I think you did it. Well, nope, you muted yourself. Sounds like your YouTube still. No, your YouTube is on.
Okay. I've turned everything off here.
What you want to do is you want to turn your YouTube. It may be on another window behind it or something. It's like going into infinity. I think maybe you got it. Sounds quiet now.
Can you hear me now?
I think you did it. Well, I think you did it. You muted yourself. It's kind of trippy. Still, YouTube is on. All the echoing. I'm still getting a lot of echoing.
I've turned everything off here.
Do you hear the echoing? Maybe on another window. It's almost like one of those movies where they're like it someone's like this weird echoing. Maybe they're like seeing the
Yeah.
past or something.
Can you hear me now? Okay, how's that?
I think we got it.
I think we got it. I had to turn off the YouTube.
There you go. All right.
Hey, this is just a quick story. Thank you so much.
Well, where are you? Who are you, and where are you from
Oh.
first?
I'm Thayer Hutchinson. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Oh wow, Santa Fe, nice.
Yeah, I do psychic painting.
Ooh, I can't. That looks pretty interesting. What is that?
That's I'm learning. I'm using my psychic ability to paint people's vibrations and colors.
It almost looks like a lot of flowers.
Yeah, well, it's kind of bad lighting. Hold on. Can you?
It may be just because your camera's a little bit blurry.
It's blurry.
It
Yeah.
looks nice though, from what I can see. I like the colors you chose.
Oh, yellow chakra.
Mm-hmm. So you're in Santa Fe. I've never been to Santa Fe. I've been to Albuquerque, and every time I go to New Mexico, I love it there. I feel like that may be the place for me that I should be living.
New Mexico, unfortunately, the real estate prices have gone way up, but Santa Fe is like the Harry Potter sorting hat. People move in, and then Santa Fe will spit them out or keep them. And it's sort of the vibe. It's a very, I love it here. I spent 30 years on the East Coast, and I adore it here. It's everybody. It's just a very lovely, calm, safe place to live.
I bet.
And
I hear that.
Yeah, go on.
I heard around Christmas time they do like the lights everywhere in the bags or whatever, and that people go and there's like maybe an old part of the city, and everybody goes and hangs
Everybody
out.
walks up Canyon Road, and there's fires. It's lovely.
That sounds nice.
It's really nice. Everybody's very nice.
Is it snowing up there already?
No, we snowed on the mountain. We're 7,000 feet, and it snowed up on the mountain. But down below, it's just been cold. Not as cold as it should be, but cold enough anyway. So I have a story.
All right, let's hear it.
That I thought you might like. I had made an appointment to talk to these people that talk to the Pleiades.
Right.
They channel the Pleiades, and this was, I would say, 5 to 6 years ago. And you had to ask them what you wanted to know about yourself. So I said, I want to know who I am. And the appointment was a week away. And that Saturday I was out. I volunteered at a horse shelter way out in Cerrillos, way out. And I was taking my horse up to the top into the paddock. And have you ever seen Monty Python? You know how the lightning comes down on the Monty Python and you get, it's like I had this instant knowing, like time had stopped, and I saw myself in that situation in all different dimensions. Like you and I would be talking, but we would have different clothes on. And then the next flash is we would be talking and we might be talking about something completely different. It would be like each situation was really different. It was, if you're a Star Trek fan, it was very much like when Captain Kirk saw all the Starship Enterprises and all different things were happening on them. Do you remember that episode?
I don't remember that one. I've seen them all. I don't know why I don't remember that one, but
yeah, that each, you can see it on the big screen. Kirk is sitting in his chair, and on each Starship Enterprise, a different situation was happening.
Like different dimensions.
That's right. So I experienced a multi-dimensional experience. It changed me profoundly.
What was the catalyst that caused it to happen?
Well, I had made an appointment. A woman had moved into my compound that did PR for these people that channel Larkma. They were friends of Shirley MacLaine's, and they had written books. And Santa Fe is filled with people like that. And I had made a channeling appointment with them, and I had asked, "Who am I?" And that's how they answered.
So just because you made even though you haven't made your appointment yet, they were already contacting you before the appointment. That's what
Before
you're
the
saying.
appointment. Yeah.
You said
Yeah.
something really interesting to me, and I'm sorry to cut you off. I just
That's
don't want to
fine.
let it pass. You said you
Yeah.
lived in a compound. What is that?
Well, in Santa Fe, there's a lot of people who have houses, and then they can build 2 or 3 casitas
Mm-hmm.
there. And I was at that time a property manager. The guy had taken off to Ecuador, and there was my unit and then 3 other units where people lived. So that this woman had moved in, and she did all of the publicity for them.
Oh, interesting.
So I thought I would make an appointment.
So you did a multi-dimensional experience.
Yeah.
And then what happened with your actual meeting with the channelers? Who are you?
Well, I called them up. I went, what the hell happened? And they said that was very unusual, that would happen. I am naturally psychic and intuitive anyway. But they said that is who you are. They were showing me that I was more than one person. That our reality, and this, to my understanding, this goes into when you hear in the near-death experiences that we're all part of a web and we're all one. So if I heal a wrong, or if I heal an emotional wrong in this life, then that healing can go into all those different dimensions. If I shot you, or if a crime or a negative act was committed, that negative energy would also vibrate into all the different dimensions. And that's how I got my understanding that we are indeed all one. So I mean, that I don't always act like that, but because it does radiate, that what we heal in this dimension can heal other dimensions. That's sort of my point.
What's interesting to think about is there something going on in another dimension that's healing this dimension?
Yeah. I think that's why everybody is called the collective.
Mm-hmm. Now you're starting to sound like the Borg.
Yeah, right. The Borg. Yeah, so that was and I stopped eating meat after that. I eat fish, but I realized that and I'm not one of these, I think if people, I'm not preachy about what I eat or whatever. I just felt like if I was eating meat, I was sort of eating myself.
All right, before we go here, let me ask you one last question, and that is, did you find out that you are a starseed, or you are originally from another planet?
I know I'm a light worker. I know what I do reverberates, and I've worked with the Paralander method, and I talk to nature spirits, and have done a lot of other work. That label sort of puts some pressure on me in terms of having to fulfill that prophecy for myself. So I just try to, like, as an example, somebody stole my dog, and it's heartbreaking. My dog went out for a walk and he never came back, and it's been a month and a half. He's my therapy dog.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, I have to work at, I'm allowed to be angry and sad and grieve, but I also want to, because I know we're in a multidimensional experience as a self-discipline, I also want to keep myself open to love, not shut off, not go down the blame victim road, which makes your vibration lower and lower. So I see myself as a light worker that way, where if there is a negative experience, to experience the negative experience, let it go, but still stay open to love and still allow good things to come in. It's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I know people with loss
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah. It sounds like you're doing the right thing.
Well, that's what I see my light work as, because you can have concepts and stories, but unless it's grounded and experienced and lived on the earthly plane, it doesn't create a seed. Do you know what I mean? It's the difference between a dream and reality.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, that you have to seed or ground your change into the earth by being it in a human form.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I think you're totally cool.
Oh, well, thank you, Thayer. I
love
appreciate
your
that.
show.
Well, thank you so
Your
much.
voice is mesmerizingly wonderful.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming and sharing, because the show is really about the guests coming and sharing. I just facilitate this.
Well, that's what my little thing that I've learned from my psychic experiences is that you have to bring the concept down, and you have to be the human that forgives. You have to be the human that gets angry. You have to humanize it and put that energy on the earth, and then it will radiate to the web of the earth.
Right.
So.
Right. All right, Thayer. Well, thanks again. You have a great rest of your welcome.
Thank you so much.
Take care of yourself.
Your patience.
Thank
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so the next one I believe is Luis. That's the name that I've seen from the sidelines, and we're up to 215 people, so that's awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. And Luis hopefully will be here very soon. Ask to unmute. Ask to start video. And we've got someone else. And we've had a lot of all new people tonight. So that's been pretty cool too. So while we're waiting, I've been giving some health tips every week. And my health tip today is buy American garlic. And how, if you have ever known the difference between American garlic and garlic that's not American, because I don't want to be blaming the other country. Non-American garlic, let's go that way. Non-American garlic is bleached, and it is super white, and this is how you can tell them apart. It's bleached, it's super white, and the roots at the top are been cut off. So you're getting bleached garlic. There may be some other toxicity to it. And then American garlic, I'm assuming most of it, if not all of it, is California garlic, which they are super tight on their regulations there. And you can tell American garlic because it has the little roots at the top and it's not bleached out white. So that is my health tip so far to the day. Try to get that. And a lot of times I think you can even see on the garlic at your grocery store, it'll say where it's from. And we're having trouble getting Louise in. Why would they bleach garlic? I think they bleach it. I think it makes it look prettier, and then when they're importing it into this country, once it's bleached, maybe it appears cleaner. Maybe there's nothing in it. I'm not really sure. There's videos out there. I didn't even know about that. I stumbled across the video, so I'm just kind of passing along the information. If you want to know more, you can probably put types of garlic video and what or garlic not to buy on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure you can find it. So Louise is having trouble getting in. I'm not going to kick her out. I'm just going to put her back into the waiting room. And let's see if we can get Jack in while Louise is getting her Zoom set up. So if you're still here, Louise, that's what happened. I'll put you back in. So it sounds like I can hear Jack. We're just not seeing him yet.
The fuck is this?
I guess he left. He was here. Sometimes things crash. All right, let's get Luis back in and see what we can do. All right, so there's 235 of you here. If 1% of you got on, that would be 2.3 people. 2.3 of you would be in line. And so maybe 2.3 more of you will join up here very shortly. Do they paint bananas yellow? I don't know about that. I kind of doubt it. You know, a lot of things, I don't know if I learned this in college biology. I think I probably learned it in college biology, but, you know, especially in the United States system, the problem with a lot of fruits and vegetables is that they buy them unripened, right? Especially like your bananas. If you see your bananas in the, you know, a lot of times they're green. But a lot of things aren't ripened, and from what I learned in college is that they spray the plants with a plant hormone, and that ripens them overnight. And that's why if you go to other countries, the fruits and vegetables may taste so much better than the Americans, because they're ripened before they're picked or close to it compared to what we get here. So Jack is gone again. Luis still says joining. I'm not sure what's going on with their Zoom. And I also mentioned today that if you want to even come on and just share what you're thankful for or what you're grateful for, you're welcome to do that too, because as one of my guests said before, gratitude is the closest you can get to unconditional love. And now everybody's gone. All right. Well, let us see. Let me get some updates for you to see what we're going to be updating you guys on for the upcoming week for the guests. This week is going to be with the first of that. I have a very famous guest. I'm going to be recording on Thursday named Peter Maxwell. So that one should be, I think, pretty amazing. I have Monday, I'm going to be recording with an NDEer from Ireland, Dr. Mary Helen Hensley. I think another NDE person I'll be recording with on Tuesday. Wednesday, I think another one. Friday, I'm pretty sure there's another NDE. And tomorrow morning, tomorrow morning I have a guest that is an ex-Buddhist monk. And he's going to be teaching us some secrets tomorrow morning. So that should probably pop up on Tuesday or Wednesday. So I think it'd be interesting to hear from an ex-Buddhist monk. All right. Let's go. I wasn't looking, and I don't know who's next. So we'll let our first buddy in here, Stephen Cake, and then we'll go to Olivia. And usually Stephen doesn't have a problem getting in. And we'll find out. We have oh, there he is.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I want to know do you have Disney? And if you do have Disney, have you seen the new special about the Beatles?
I don't have Disney and I haven't seen the specials.
All right. Well then.
But I got this camera so you can see what my spirit friend does.
All right. So for those of you that don't know, Stephen has a spirit friend with him named Monique. She manipulates and controls his body at times. I'm assuming she's doing it right now.
Yeah. And if I had music on, then I'd be, dancing as well. But if I'm just standing still, like my arm will just go up like that. And I mentioned it last time. If I'm out at the supermarket, they got music playing, like I'm just walking around like that. It's like,
so she likes
it's not me doing it, but I just go along with it.
You froze for
No,
a
she's
moment.
here all the time.
Oh, now
Oh,
you're
did I
back.
lose you?
So she likes to go with you to the supermarket and embarrass
Yes, I
you.
got music going. Just be doing that.
She likes to. She
Yeah, my
likes to.
internet's really bad.
Are you down in the basement?
Yeah, and I told you about how they can read your thoughts too. Like, so I was thinking, I was like, well, let's just try thinking about a shape or something, and then see if she does it with the movement.
Interesting that she reads your thoughts.
My
Did you
internet must
did
be
you
really bad.
did you ever post a picture of her in Discord? I think his internet is really slow today. Oh, he was gone. He's back. Are you still with us?
Yeah, my internet must be bad. Oh.
Yeah. I was gonna say, did you ever post a picture of Monique on Discord?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah, it's the video where I explain it, and then she's the thumbnail or whatever.
I need to go find that.
But I also do
You got a juggling. All right.
I hope the internet's good enough. I also do juggling.
What I want to know is, can she help you juggle?
When I'm juggling, I don't feel anything. I think she likes it when I put it down, so then she can start moving my arms and whatnot.
Maybe somehow when you're juggling, you can mentally shut her off from manipulating your arms.
Well, if I'm doing anything important, she's not going to be messing around with it. Like if I go to brush my teeth or something, she doesn't start, like, it's like she knows, like, okay, I'm doing something intricate, not to mess around with me. But here, I'll do 5 balls here.
All right.
Just why not?
You're actually really good at this. How did you get so good at this?
This is easy for me. So, but it's hard for me to do more than that. I actually had a video I made a couple called Magic Window, where you see, I've got a window over here and you see paranormal things going on around the window. And I said, well, I'll just put my juggling to that. I'll just add it to it because I get spirit orbs.
I wish I could capture you.
I had a video where it had thousands.
Right. Do you?
Yeah,
think
you don't see it. And they said, oh, the skeptics say, oh, it's just bugs. And it's like, but I would see if there was thousands of bugs in here, I'd see them. There might be 1 or 2 or something, but like not thousands.
I wish we could call the orbs to you right now, and we could all see them together. That would be amazing.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason why they show up. I don't know why. But I've seen them on your videos. Like they show up when you're doing interviews.
Right. You know, one time I was amazed. I saw an orb with a guest. And, you know, sometimes you see stuff fly across the screen and you can kind of go, okay, maybe it was. Yeah. But this one flew across, it stopped, and then it like blinked, like I think 2 or 3 times.
Wow.
And then I think it took off.
I don't see them. Some people say they see them in real time. And that, to me, that's very paranormal because like I'm not seeing them at all. So
you got anything else paranormal for us this week?
I'll post the videos down. Any more paranormal? This is like the most, like I've got a spirit with me all the time. I don't know what.
I know, but we can't.
I've had many experiences,
but we can't communicate with her.
Like I've seen.
I want to communicate with Monique. You've got to convince her to let me communicate with her. That would be amazing. Monique, if you're listening, Monique, you've got to communicate with us. See, you're clapping. I think that means you agree.
Yeah, it could be. That's what she does, though.
You can always clap once for yes and 2 for no. And we can ask you
what do you want to know about her? She died by suicide, so it's like it.
Well, I want to know how
they kind of give like ghosts.
I will ask you this, Monique. Have you ever seen an angel on the other side? There's no clapping. Yes or
I
no?
don't know. Well, I'm assuming that would be yes, because if you've been to heaven, there must be angels there. But everyone's having a good time in heaven.
Right.
Nobody's having a bad time. If you're in heaven, you're having a good time. So
Is it possible that
she's in the lights? Because some people are wondering.
I wonder if it's
Some people are
possible?
worried about there are attachments.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
I was wondering if Monique was a member of your soul group.
I have no clue. I don't know anything about soul groups. So, like who's in them, and I know that like goes to like. So it's like you just end up hanging around, similar people.
Right.
And here it's the other way around. It's like there's so many different types of people.
Right. All right, Stephen. Well, let me run on to the next person. I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us
Do
this
what
week.
you gotta do, man. Make sure to watch the Beatles. Make sure to watch John and George and Ringo.
They're on the Disney Channel.
On the drums all day. Yeah, I don't watch that, but
I don't have Disney either, so I haven't watched it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you later. All right, so who is next? Well, I guess we'll go with Victor Campbell, LMSW, licensed. I think that's licensed something social worker, licensed master social worker from the Shepherd Good Hospice. That's going to be my guess. Oh, you know what? I was supposed to add Olivia. I am so sorry, Olivia. I apologize for that. I will get you next. Ask to start video. Licensed. Let's see. That was my guest. Hello, Victor. Can you hear me?
Well, yes, this is my first time here on the Zoom, and I didn't realize I was going to post my name and all of that.
That's okay. That gave me something to... Did you mute the YouTube video, by the way?
Let me know right now.
It doesn't sound like it. And then afterwards, you can tell us. I wanted to know if I guessed properly. LMSW. What does
yes,
that?
that's a social work degree.
Right.
And I work in hospice.
So you've probably seen a lot of stuff.
Over the years, yes, you have, and lots of good stories. And I've been loving to watch your show.
Thank you.
I'm a little bit camera shy. I normally don't do this, but
Yeah.
I might share a couple of stories.
That would be great.
I've heard. Okay. Well, there are a couple of different ones. One of them, and all of these people gave me permission to share their stories. And so I'm not mentioning their names or anything. But many years ago, there was a 90-year-old lady. And she said, Victor, the most important event of my life happened when I was 30. And I said, well, what was that? And she said, well, I died. And I said, you died? Well, what happened? And she said, well, I was living out in the country and I got stung by some kind of wasp or something like that. And it put me into a state of anaphylactic shock, causing my heart to stop. And she said, the last thing that I remember, I was in the home, in the bedroom, and I collapsed onto the bed. And suddenly I was standing outside my body, and I could see myself there on the floor or on the bed. And my mother was panicking and calling the country doctor, full of tears. But she said, Victor, if you can imagine the greatest joy and happiness that you've ever experienced in your life, or falling in love, and amplify that a million times, that's what I began feeling suddenly. And she said, I turned around and I saw all of these beautiful stars, and I began flying through these stars. And it was the most exhilarating experience of my life. She came upon this planet that had blowing grasses, and she landed and she started walking up this little path. And in her experience, she saw a figure that looked like Jesus, and he was in a robe, and he had his leg up on an old-timey fence. And he was talking with her auntie, and they were just having a wonderful, lovely time. And she started to come up the hill, and what she called Jesus turned to her and said, "Child, what are you doing here?" And she had to stop. But she said the joy of that place was so great that I kept walking anyway. And he stopped me again and he said, "Child, what are you doing here? Your mother needs you." And she didn't want to go back. But suddenly at that moment, the doctor hit her with something in her heart, atrophy, or I'm not sure what it was, but it got her heart going again. And she sat there and said, "I'm 90 now." And she said, that was more memorable, more real than all of the last 60 years of my life. And so all in all, that was one of the stories that had been shared, and she was just, so beautiful.
Mm.
Simultaneously, one day, a lady that had been smoking crack had her heart blown out on the side of the street and came into the emergency room where I was working at a county hospital. And after that effect, she had, well, actually, I'm mixing the story up. I apologize. This was a lady that had come into the emergency room. This had happened many years earlier. And she had told me that I was smoking crack, blew out my heart. And all of a sudden, I was in this dark space. And it was so comforting. And she said she heard this voice, and instantly she started crying, full of tears. And she said, when you hear the Lord's voice? And this voice said, I'm not going to use her name, but it said, we're waiting to see what makes so-and-so special. And she came to. And she said, after that experience, she had not used crack in 10 years. But this lady had been prostituting on the streets and been out there literally for years. And she was telling me this is what had happened to her. I apologize. I kind of got a little nervous when we first came on.
You're doing great.
Well, thank you.
Let me ask you this. What is the rug behind you hanging on the wall? Is there any significance to that?
No, I've just kind of always been into Persian carpets. And I have a cat that my sister moved in briefly with her cat, and he was attacking it on the floor. So I just put it up there. But it comes from Guam, which is northwestern Persia. Or Iran today, and they're like handmade type carpets and things. And so I don't know much more about that particular one, but it's from there. But I remember now that I'm looking.
Okay, tell us.
Well, I apologize. Like I said, when I first came on, it made me so nervous. But
that's okay.
Anyway,
you're doing great.
The lady that I had spoken to that was 90, she had sat there and said, Victor. That's what it was. She said after she came back from that experience, she told her mother, and they decided, well, in a couple of, let's call Auntie and see how she's doing. And it took them about a week or so. It was back in the day when you had to use those old tiny phones. And they called and they found out that their aunt had died 2 weeks earlier. And they just hadn't been informed about it. And that was the figure that she had seen laughing and talking with Jesus at that point. And so it was kind of it was a confirmation for her.
Yeah. Have you heard enough stories as a hospice worker that it changed your view on death, and that we do go on consciously?
Surprisingly, they say that in hospice, you die the way that you live. And so if you're watching the football game, you're kind of watching the football game up until the last period of your life. I have heard some that I don't want to give too many details because I didn't ask this person to share, but I guess let me put it this way. There was a man that had he was a doctor of religion, Baptist, and he had had a near death. He was an elderly man, had died right there at the end, and somehow he popped back. We thought he was all dead, but his daughters were standing there. And he came back and he was able to talk, and it kind of disturbed them. And I'm not trying to disturb anybody else, but this is what he said. He'd been a big time preacher, and he said, I went to the other side and saw God. He said, I was all wrong. He said, it's not about judgments and this and that. It's about love and forgiveness and turning towards the light. And Jesus is one of those most brilliant lights, that we turn to and receive that. But he said, it's not the way I thought it was. And as a social worker, I got the brunt end of that, as the daughters were quite upset about hearing that, of course. And so, but let me come another time. Let me just kind of watch, and I'll prepare
Sure.
myself for the next
That'll be
time when I
great.
come on. Unless you have any immediate questions or anything outside of
No,
that.
I hope you come back and share more with us, and I appreciate you coming today.
Thank you. I just happened to just click on and suddenly I'm right here talking with Jeff. So,
All right, great.
but we'll do it again sometime. I appreciate it. I'll keep listening.
All right, thanks, Victor.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
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 All right. Don't report. Olivia, let's get you in here. All right, so that was interesting hearing from a hospice social worker.
Muted.
I can hear. Well, I did hear something. All right. We can see her. We just can't hear her yet. Looks like her mic is muted. Let me click Ask to Unmute. And it looks like
Hello?
Hello, Olivia.
Actually, no. My name is Maria.
Well, hi, Maria. Where are you zooming from today?
I'm actually zooming from Carson City, Nevada.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's my daughter and I share the computer, and she's the one that usually uses the Zoom, and I didn't know how it worked. So,
Well, we're thankful for her helping you out.
I'm so glad she came in right at the moment, because they were out and they just got home right now. So
Perfect.
It was perfect timing.
Perfect. Well, what's going on with you this weekend?
Well, I've been listening to your pod for quite some time now.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Should I mute my YouTube?
I don't hear it, but you might as well.
Yeah, because I need to talk to you and not to the YouTube.
Right. I don't hear. You may hear echoing on your side, which may be,
right,
throw you off. But luckily, I didn't hear it on my side. But what has you have anything to share with us paranormally or supernaturally, or what's been going on with you?
Well, yes, actually, all of the above, you could say. My main thing that happened to me was about, I always forget the date, but I want to say it was 2009. And I was living in Las Vegas at the time, but I have a daughter who lives in Utah, in Kanab. And one time we went visiting there for my birthday, excuse me. And we went up to the hot springs over there in Monroe, Utah, which is part of the Four Corners of the United States. And, it's very woo-woo place for spiritual stuff. And it's called the Mystic Hot Springs. If you ever get a chance to go over there, it's really awesome. They have this amazing place. It's just like, it's amazing. The hot springs, they have like a vat, and you go in there and the tube is going down and the water, and it's loud, but it's like the sulfur and the spring. I don't know. I can't explain it. I wasn't necessarily a spiritual person, like necessarily a believer. I grew up as an atheist, more or less, because I didn't really I had a very traumatic childhood. And so for me, it was like, yeah, right, there's a God kind of thing. But this one morning, it was our last day. We got there on a Friday and it was a Sunday. And I remember I went up there around 10 o'clock in the morning. And I remember thinking, this is kind of weird that there's nobody here. I move my hands a lot when I talk, sorry. And
it's okay.
So I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so there was hardly anyone. I mean, there was no one there, actually, no one. And you go up this little hill, and there was an area where you can go down, and the waterfall was coming down, and there was I describe it as like a Mexican hat area, because the water flowed around from the waterfall, and it kind of was more cool because it had a chance to float around. Whereas up on the vat, it was directly from the stream, from the mountain. And so I remember going up the stairs, and then going down, and I'm standing in the middle of the vat, and down below is the building, and I could see it. So I'm thinking in my mind, like, wow, this is really weird. Like, I'm in the middle of nature in like this man-made structure, surrounded by nature, right? And it was kind of drizzling a little, and there was like clouds and a little bit of patchy blue sky, and I'm looking at the beautiful mountains of Utah, and I'm hearing the thundering of the water as it's thundering down on the pavement and onto the water this way, on the other side. and I can taste the sulfur. I could smell it. I can feel the aerated feel of the water. And as I'm standing there and this just like kind of like, I don't know, in that moment when I had the feeling and after it ended, I described it as like all of my 5 senses were in tune at that one moment, that it created like a sixth sense. I don't know, because all of a sudden I wasn't like me and Maria over here in Utah in this little vat. I was suddenly like one with everything. It was like everything, my molecules, everything that I was, it's like I could feel myself as just like everything 360. And it's almost like in my mind later on, I was able to describe it a little bit more because I read up a little bit more about this whole oneness thing. And Indra's web, if you've ever heard that, that's what it reminded me of. And it was like I was a center hub and everything connected from me and went everywhere. But it was the same thing with every other hub out there. And so it was like, even though I was me here, I was also me there and there and there and there and there and there and everywhere. And at the same time, I'm thinking, wait, how can I be everything that is and still be me? This me that I know of as me. And as I was having that experience, suddenly I was like, I was back, like I was never gone. And I was just like standing there in the middle of this vat going, wait, did that just happen? I mean, what? Like I was left dumbfounded with like nobody to talk to because there was no one around. My family was still down below. And I'm here like it's in the middle of nature. My heart is pounding like it's gonna bust out of my chest. And I don't know. It was a very strange experience for me. Like I didn't know what to make of it. And it's not, like I said, until many years later that I've come to understand it in a much more cohesive manner. And I've come to understand my own self, that I've had a lot of, kind of paranormal woo-woo things in life. Like when I was a kid, I remember driving, because my father was in the Army 26 years. And so we traveled everywhere. And we were going to Alabama, I think, and we were going down this road. And I remember all of a sudden, I looked up and I said, oh, I was about like 6 years old, maybe 5 years old. And I remember looking and saying, oh yeah, I remember this place in Spanish, right? And my mom, like, she turns around kind of angry at me and she looks at me and she says, how are you going to remember this place? You've never been here before. And I just remember being kind of confused, like, wait, what do you mean? Because I'm thinking, I know there's going to be a red barn right around the corner and there's going to be this church over here. But no, I've never been there before. So I was going, okay. And then so just like my years went by and it's like no one was in my life, I guess, to teach me these kinds of things. You know what I'm saying? To let me know what they were about. Like as far as religion was concerned, I went to all kinds of different churches because I don't know, I was looking for answers, I suppose, and I was never really finding any because I'm going, how can you all be Christian? But, the Baptists believe this, the Lutherans believe, the Methodists, and like nothing against religion, what you want to believe is what you want to believe. But for me, I found it highly confusing.
Well,
yes, go ahead.
Here's the question. Are you still an atheist? And if not, where are you on your spiritual path?
Well, here's the thing, because eventually I ended up marrying a man who became a born-again Christian, and so I did too. And for a while, everything was working out until he did something really like, whatever, we're not going to talk about it, more traumatic. And so I said, wait, I'm under the umbrella, suppose it. So I just went away for a long, long time. I became a very I don't know. I lost myself, I guess. I lost myself as a human being, as like, I basically didn't even know who I was to begin with. And then in that moment, I didn't know who I was. So eventually I started picking up just being a spiritual person, spirituality in general. And then I started learning about oneness. I actually picked up a book called Oneness. And, in more recent years, Greg Braden's book came into, like, you talk about woo-woo stuff. That book just appeared and, in a book of books, of used books. It was a brand new book, and I'm going, what? And it was after I was asking to the universe, if there's such a thing as like a matrix or whatever, then there's got to be some kind of a manual or something, instructions or something. And then like about a week later, I opened the book, the pile of books to see, let me see what I got. And I put in this book, this brand new book, and I'm going, no, this is not happening. And like all kinds of woo-woo stuff, like things disappearing. And so I watch a lot of Glitch in the Matrix stuff. And eventually I started my own channel, not trying to, but I started my own channel having to do with this kind of stuff because.
So you have your own YouTube channel?
I started a YouTube channel, but for some reason it's not doing very well. And so my
Okay.
WordPress seems to be doing much better.
All right, well, let's see if we can help you out. What is the name of your YouTube channel?
The YouTube channel is Lotus Swan.
Okay, Lotus
Which
Swan.
is, this is my logo. And, the only reason I'm showing it off is because I created this. And then my daughter, my beautiful Adriana, she's she does this kind of stuff, and so she created it. So if you go to my website, you'll see the logo on there that she created for me out of this. So
she
just
did a good
my
job.
daughter, she's beautiful at it. She's awesome.
She did a good job. All right, well, before we go,
yes.
Again, Maria's YouTube channel is Lotus Swan, so maybe you guys can go pay her a visit and and maybe get a little action on her channel for her.
Please, because I'm a lot of the stuff I have it on my WordPress because I haven't been able to get it onto the YouTube. So so you can read it as opposed to just hearing me speak. So
right
there you go. But anyway, thank you very much for I appreciate that you let me hear my story, and I'm going to try to come on next week so I can tell you about my so-called near-death experience when I was a newborn baby.
Oh, that would be great.
All right.
Thanks, Maria.
I should have started with that one, but that one I'm not sure if it was if it's really true. I have no way of verifying it. It's just feelings that I have, but we'll talk about it. All right, so y'all have a good one.
All right, take care, Maria.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Don't report. All right, so let's get in Jamal SMD. So that was Maria, and her YouTube channel is Lotus Swan, and maybe you guys can take a look. And we're up to 276, and we still got people, which is great, and that means 2.76 people can be joining me. And looks like we lost Jamal, so let's bring in Denise. And thank you guys so much for being here. Ask to start video. All right. She's halfway there. We have her on video. We just don't have her on audio. And it looks like she's outside. I'm going to guess she is in New Mexico. So we'll see if it's true or not. I have a feeling by looking at her house that she's in New Mexico, but I could be way off. We'll see if I'm right. JeffMara, you are getting famous. Well, thank you, Karen. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Karen. And the only reason I get famous, if I am, is because of you guys. Because if you guys weren't watching, then I wouldn't be getting any traffic, right? And that's my thankfulness for this week. I told you guys can come on and share. And one of the things I'm thankful for is you guys, the audience. Because if it wasn't for you guys of the audience, then I couldn't do what I love doing, which is making videos. All right, so I can't hear you, Denise. Your audio is not connected. Can't hear you. Got to make sure your audio is connected. And I had thought, I don't know, Greg Braden, and I think is a guy that's pretty big. I thought about maybe getting him. I think he's on like Gaia channel and stuff. But he might be a good guest to get on if we could ever get on. And I think once we get to a big size channel, I don't know what the numbers are, but I have a feeling that, if we get to 1 million subscribers, we could probably get on almost whoever we wanted as a guest. And I don't know where that threshold is of numbers. 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, 1 million. Probably by at least 1 million subscribers, we could, any guest we wanted, they would probably be pretty happy to come on. So let me tell Denise here, hopefully she can see this, that your audio is not connected. So maybe you want to not sing, sign out and in again. I don't know. Who is Greg? Greg Braden. See, yeah, they would like that. Greg Braden. Looks like, oh, you're almost there because now it says it's muted. So we almost got you. Don't leave. It just took a while for your mic to finally get logged, connected, but your mic is connected now. You have it.
There.
You're there.
You're on.
Hello.
Aloha.
Hi, Denise. I'm glad we
Hello.
got it sorted out. All right. Where are you zooming from?
We're in Southern California, in a suburb of San Diego.
All right. It's nighttime there already? It's dark over there?
Yeah, it gets dark here about 5:30, 5:30.
Oh, wow. Okay. I figured it wouldn't be dark yet.
Yeah, we're dark.
So you're near San Diego, right?
Near San Diego. We're out in the desert. We have a really small community of about 2,000 people. So it's a beautiful place if you're not raising a family. We're done raising our kids, and it's just the two of us. We have a big swimming pool and pups in the house and lots of free time.
Oh, nice. So what's going on with you paranormally or supernaturally?
Well, supernaturally and paranormally, I don't have a big list right now, but you came into my life in February when my daughter was in Texas during those storms where the roads were all icy, and she passed away in the car accident there.
Wow. Sorry, my condolences for that.
And
I'm sorry to hear that.
thank you. And you have given me condolences many times in all the comments. I thank you for that. And because of your channel and more people willing to share their stories, it's been such a healing on my heart, and I can breathe and live and function because of so many of the stories that are told. So I wanted to say thank you for that. In my family, paranormally, I know my aunt and both another family member of mine have told me they've had first-hand accounts with ETs.
Wow.
One person very close to me, who I just don't want to say their name, they saw two grays standing at the end of their bed. And this person, being a religious person, simply exclaimed, "In the name of Jesus, get out of here." And I don't know whether this person blacked out or just had the memory swiped or what, but I don't know any more of the story other than that, which was interesting. And then my aunt, who was a practicing medium for many number of years, she did this as her profession for like 10 years. She described an incident where she actually saw craft in her neighborhood, and she said all the neighbors were outside looking up into the sky.
Oh, that's amazing.
And she said it was a really interesting interaction because as she's looking up at the craft and all the neighbors are standing in wonderment, she said she actually had this flip of perception to where she was the one sitting in the craft looking down at everyone. I thought that was really interesting.
That is.
So
I wish they flew over my neighborhood.
And this was probably 30, 40 years ago that had happened. So
do you think grays are living beings, or do you think they're robots?
I think there's all different spectrums of beings that inhabit this dimension, other dimensions, this reality, other realities. I just can't say that nothing doesn't exist. It's too broad.
Yeah, as funny as I was thinking about reaching out to him today, because there's other parts of his alien experience that we didn't go into. My guest Ronnie Dawson, I don't know if you've ever seen that podcast. It's probably about a year old, but he's the guy that shined the laser into the ships. I got an astronomy laser, those green ones that are super powerful, and he shined it at a ship. He in Texas out at an oil well, and then they paid him a visit at his house for doing that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I don't remember that one right away, but I'm going to go back and see if I've seen that one. That sounds really interesting.
It's one of my favorite UFO ones. And they said they paralyzed him in his bed while they were rumbling, looking through his house. And I think they finally found his laser. I don't know if they took it or just left it there, but.
I imagine it was confiscated. And I actually believe I have seen craft on 3 other occasions in That's probably around 2011, 2012. I was out on some BLM land in Utah, dry camping for 2 weeks. I mean, we carted in everything from our water and food, and we're hiking a lot of the canyons down off the North Fork of the Virgin River right outside Zion. And midday, noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I looked directly up and there's a white light in the sky. And I thought, well, it's definitely not Venus. It's way too bright to be Venus.
Mhm.
The moon wasn't out. And just this bright white light. And it was way, I mean, it was extremely high. I couldn't even guess at how high it was, but high enough that I thought it may be a star if it wasn't as bright as it was. So then I probably spent 20 minutes just looking up at it, and it's still there, looking up. And then one of the times I looked up and it had vanished. So I thought that was interesting. And then here in Borrego, my husband and I on 2 different occasions been out walking in the desert. We walk a lot of the washes around we're surrounded by state park, and we have a lot of hiking trails. And it's probably about 4 o'clock in the afternoon a couple years ago, and bright white light up in the sky, and it's not moving like a drone. You can get reflections off drones and whatnot. But it was perfectly still and super bright, not moving. So we're just walking, and as we're walking back to our car, we would just turn around and look. It's still there. It's still there. And that was probably a good 5 or 10 minutes.
Well,
And then sitting in our backyard, we're looking up to the west, and again, this white light lower on the horizon where we could see it. And I got the binoculars out, I got the camera. I actually have this particular light in the sky on film, and we had looked at it through the binoculars, 10, 15 minutes at least it was in the sky. And if I remember correctly, it blinked out. It didn't zoom across the sky or anything, but I've had to accept that it was a craft, because it didn't make sense that it could be anything other than that. And given my family history, and I know that that can run in families, so maybe I like to think that that's what it was.
do you have a lot of light pollution where you're at, or is it pretty dark and you
Oh
can see
gosh,
this?
no. In fact, our town is considered a dark sky community, and there's a lot of events that are held out here for astronomers and astronomy, star parties and what have you. So we're a dark sky community here.
It's called Borrego, California?
Borrego Springs. You can look it
Borrego
up.
Springs. Oh, cool. Yeah, I might have to check it out next time I'm out there. My wife is from that area, and so sometimes we go and see family and stuff. So.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's a petroglyphs out here where the Indians that used to roam these areas, old ancient rock paintings. We'll just be out walking and you see the pottery shards on the ground. It's really, really beautiful park. You can really tell the Native American energy here.
Oh, that's cool.
All
right. Well,
yeah.
I appreciate you coming and sharing with us. And
thank you.
And I appreciate you, watching the videos. Thank you so much.
All right, Jeff. We love your show. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. I'm glad we were able to get her finally in and working. Don't report. 275 people, 2.75 people, and I'll round that up to 3 people should be in the waiting room at all times. So, I thought maybe you were. Yeah, there's a delay. There's a big delay. There's probably a 30-second delay. From broadcasting, from what I see to what you guys see, I'm guessing it's about a 30-second delay, between 30 seconds and 1 minute. I told you guys about garlic. I told you before about the types of cinnamon. We were talking about, let me see, what other health things did we talk about? We did cinnamon. I told you guys about sugar. 4 grams of sugar is a teaspoon. So start becoming a label reader. And, especially some of even your juices, your sodas. I mean, there's sodas. I think a lot of sodas are 40 grams of sugar. So that's 10 teaspoons. Can you imagine that? 10 teaspoons if you had like a can of soda. That would be eating literally 10 teaspoons of sugar. or drinking it. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I was talking about Ronnie Dawson. I should have messaged him today, but Ronnie is one of my favorite UFO. When I talk to him, I probably talk about it quite a bit, but one of my favorite UFO contactees. And I had just did a video and I was editing it today that I will be posting tomorrow, and I was talking about Lyrians or Lyrans, however you want to pronounce those, which those are supposedly the ETs that are like half human, half cat. And so I was talking to Ronnie about those. We didn't speak that those were Lyrians. He just described the alien for me. And then yesterday when I was speaking with the guest, who I'm going to post tomorrow, we were talking about those. And anyways, I'm glad that I brought this up. So tomorrow's guest, she went to the gates of hell during her NDE. And usually I tell you guys, I kind of give you a warning that if it's a hellish NDE, I kind of put that out there that, hey, you man, I want to watch this. Since she was at the gates and she didn't really go into the hell, she can describe what she saw at the gates. I think it's pretty benign enough for everybody to handle this. But so there's my kind of little bit disclaimer, but I think you should be able to handle this. And if you want to know what the gates of hell was like, you may want to check it out. And I also even thought that perhaps she wasn't at the gates of hell. She was on another world or another planet. And I think that's how we kind of got into it. Maybe she mentioned the Lyrians, and then we said, well, are you sure you were in hell? Do you think you were in another planet? But the being she described was different, and perhaps she was at the River Styx, but it was different. So again, that'll be tomorrow, if all things go well, at the gates of hell. Where are we on time? We're at 8:30, so I'm on another 30 minutes. So I'll maybe start making my last calls for guests now, because I know some of you you will end up joining like at the last 5 or 10 minutes, and that's okay, but you're welcome to join now. While we're waiting for the next guest, if you like, you're welcome to ask me a question in the chat. And oh, by the way, if you didn't notice, in the description below, I did post a new it's there. I did post a new link for Discord. And if you don't know what Discord is a place that's similar to Facebook, but not really. I don't think there's any ads there. It's a place where it's a low, not low res, but it just doesn't take a lot of computer power for people to chat with each other, either voice chat, video chat, or just typing chat. And it's mainly used by video gamers so they can chat with each other and get multiple people in a room while they're gaming, but it doesn't eat up a lot of their bandwidth or a lot of their computing power. And it's a nice place for people like you guys to meet each other. You can chat there, you can post stuff there, you can voice chat, you can type chat. The last time I checked, there was, let's see, it looks like it's up to 146 people. And, I just kind of glossing through it, and it's pretty active. It's actually, really active. So if you want to meet other people and chat with other people, that's a nice place for you to go to. Do you have a favorite NDE I've heard so far? Gosh, a favorite NDE. That's a good question. I don't know if I could ever single one out as my favorite, my actual favorite NDE. Off the top of my head, probably one of my favorites is Bill. I think it's Bill Dolan, and he was with. I featured him in the last inspirational video that I posted on Thanksgiving night. Bill Dolan. I really enjoyed his. What number was he? I'll tell you right here. He was up. low 300s, I think. Where is Bill Dolan? Oh, I was on the right page. Must have just missed him. He is number 306. He was in the presence of God, pure love during his near-death experience. So that's one of my favorites. I've probably done 200 NDEs, and funny enough, no one's ever asked me that, and I've never actually sat down and tried to think of who is my favorite, my favorite actual experience that I've heard. Gosh, they're just, I have a lot of guests. I don't really want to single anybody out. There's so many, there's more guests. I could probably sit here and start looking through them. Peter Panagora was a great guest. There's Dr. Graham was a great guest. John Scott's been a great guest. And he's been a guest many times. And someone has mentioned there. And who else? And Penny Whitbrodt was great. Yes, she was a great guest as well. So there's been a lot of good ones. And yeah, I love the priest too. He's not an NDE though. He's a really good guy. He's one of my favorite guys. Father Nathan Castle. So he's a really great guest. If you haven't seen him, check him out. New Thinking Aloud, Mishlove. Jeffrey Mishlove. I've heard the name. I haven't had him on. I've had one remote viewer, Major Ed Dame, super famous. I don't think you guys know him that well, but he's probably the most famous remote viewer there is. Yeah, the doctor from the UK was Dr. Graham. I can't remember his first name. I think Graham is his last name. Or maybe it's Graham O'Connor. That's him. Yeah. Have I ever had an NDE? No, I have not. The most spookiest podcast I ever had was the alien. That was the alien implant. And what was his name? The guy that had alien implants. After that, and that's the only time ever after, let me find it and I'll tell you. Oh, shoot. Let's see if that helps it pop up. Amazing Alien Abduction with Terry Lovelace. I didn't number them back then. I have no idea what that is, but that's what it's called. Amazing Alien Abduction with Terry Lovelace. And that one was so real for me. I was kind of spooked after I recorded that one. Because we looked at the x-rays, and he is a guy that used to be the assistant to the district attorney of Vermont or Maine. So he's the second lawyer in charge, and he's an attorney, and he didn't want to release his book until after he retired. And he was right that after he released it, everybody probably kind of, abandoned him because they don't want to, be around a guy who claims to be abducted by aliens. But you hear about his story. It happened when he was in the military. Many years before, 40 years later, he was jogging. His knee started hurting. He happened to go in just to get an x-ray to see what was going on, and there was the implant. Oh yeah, that was scary. See, BE says that. He's been on many podcasts. Probably has. You think your eye fell out. Have you had David Oakford? I think I have had David Oakford. I'm pretty sure I have had him. He's an NDE. I think he was doing drugs or something, and if it was him, he was sitting in a lazy boy chair when he had his NDE. He was a good one. The interesting thing is that people will ask me to get the famous NDE people, and so most of them, if you know who the famous NDE people are, that like everybody knows their story, most of them I have asked, and probably a lot of them aren't doing podcasts anymore. or they just weren't interested. So I've asked, but you know what? As I think about it more, and as I have thought about it more, I like finding the undiscovered people, because a huge percentage of my guests are people that no one's seen before, and I almost kind of, I think, prefer to have those guests. What is the number? I don't know. Implant, no incision. Norm Kelly, thank you so much for your super thanks. Joseph P. Farrell, I have not talked to him. What has he had? John Eben, the neurosurgeon. You mean Eben Alexander? Yes, I've had him, and I'm going to be having him and his wife back, I think, the second week of December. And we're going to be talking about their Sacred Acoustics program, I think, their meditation program. Let me see, where is that? Yeah, I'll be visiting with him and his wife on the 8th, so that will probably come out a few days afterwards. Howard Storm, I probably reached out to him, and that's probably the most popular person that people ask me to reach out to is Howard Stern. I mean, not Howard Stern, Howard Storm. Can you call by phone? Only video, because there's no phone set up anyways if you wanted to. So you just get on Zoom. If you look in the description below, you can get Zoom. It's free. It's a free app. And then you can either, once you load up your app, I have in the bottom underneath a Zoom ID. You can just type that in and then it asks for the password. Or you can use the link, which is also there, and click on the link, and that should get you going. And Donna says the unknown NDEs are better. So thank you. Will you please ask Dr. Mancy Triveato? And you know what? I have Dr. Nancy scheduled for Tuesday the 30th, which is this Tuesday. So I'll be recording Nancy then. So that's a great confirmation that we have her on. I think I've seen some. Joseph Farrell talks about black money from funding UFOs. Ooh, that might be pretty interesting. That would be a good one. I had one. I don't know. It kind of fell apart, I guess, or he changed his mind or wasn't interested. I was going to get a guy from the secret space program, because there's guys that are out there that say that they were a member of the secret space program. They've been on other planets. They've been in ships. Maybe they've been out and fighting battles in space. And I think that would be really cool to have one of those. But I just haven't. I haven't got one to be on the show yet. You had a close encounter of the second and a half kind. Let's see. The name, Jeff, please ask Sharon Millman. Sharon Milliman has been a guest. Claire, she has been a guest. She's the one that was struck by lightning, I think 4 times, or either that or she had NDE. I don't know if I can't remember. I know she was struck by lightning. I know she had 3 or 4 NDEs, but she has been a guest. That was probably around a year ago. Dennis Bullock. Yes, I remember Dennis Bullock. Dennis was another great one. He's a sax player. Let's see. Missing children end up on disappearing in the forest all over the world, usually near water. He's been on Coast to Coast with Dave Paulides. All right, that might be a good one to get on. I have not tried the Filipino doctors from Baguio, Philippines. I have not. Maybe that would be pretty cool. All right, it's 8:40. Time is running down. If you want to be a guest, you've got 20 minutes to get on the show. And it's even busier. It's up to 277. What about Daniel Brinkley? I really wanted to get Daniel Brinkley on, and he wasn't. I have not been able to get him on, but I really would like to get Daniel. Daniel, I think, has been around a long time, and I think he could possibly be a really cool guest. What? Have you ever had a super soldier? I have not. I don't know if there's a difference between super soldier and a soldier of the secret space program, but I have not. But if there's something different, a super soldier, that would be cool too. And I have not had one. Would you be interesting if you could get someone like Kyle Odom? I don't know Kyle. What is Kyle's background? I also thought about getting on David Icke. Would you guys be interested in me getting David Icke? Because I think it's possible that I could get him on. Richard Hart. Well, thanks again, Norm. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Super thanks. And Richard Hart. I don't think I've heard of him before. And what made me start this podcast? Well, before that, I don't know much about Richard. If you can, I need to look him up, or I can see what we can look into. Maybe you can leave me a message on Facebook, and that's a great segue into that. By the way, I do have a Facebook page, the JeffMara Facebook page, and a lot of times people approach me there. So if you go there on Facebook, you can send me a message, and then if you have any other guests that you want me to look into, just send me a message. I started this podcast on, well, was it why I started it, or I can't remember the exact question, but I wanted a paranormal podcast, and that's what I have. My first paranormal guest was Kirsty Salisbury, an NDE experiencer from, I think she's from either Australia or New Zealand. And from her, it just kind of went from one to another to another. I've got more NDE guests. And I like NDE guests, but I do more than just NDEs. If you guys have seen, I recently did one with the people from Ask Angelics who channel, well, Robert Henry channels archangels, but I have channelers. I've had them. I've had Sam. What was his name? Sam the Illusionist. As you see, I mean, as we've been talking, I do UFO videos. I do the NDEs. I've had a psychic on. I've had an what would they call those? The what do they call those guys? Gosh. He's a famous TV guy. What are the guys that they go on? I don't know why I can't remember that. Why I cannot remember what that's called. It's a movie about it too. The name is just slipping my mind, but you know, the one where a priest goes and helps get demons out of people's bodies. What do you call that? Someone will probably be able to help me. I've tried Gary Busey. I haven't heard back from his publicist or his agent or whatever, but I looked into Gary Busey because he would be cool. Thank you very much, Keith. Oh, we got Eugene. I thought I recognized this. I recognize your Edward's iPad, but I haven't memorized it where Edward equals Eugene Braxton.
Yeah, it's my son, Jeff. How you been?
Great. How are you? Looks like you're
good.
You growing a beard?
Trying to. Yeah.
Growing your hair out? Your hair looks a little longer and you got a beard going. Is this your winter look?
I definitely get my hair longer for the winter, yeah.
Yeah. It helps keep it a little warmer. Is it cold up? Is it cold up there in New York right now?
Yeah, this week's Thanksgiving was okay, but the other days were really cold.
You got
I don't like that. I'm gonna have to come to the south or southwest, you know.
Yeah. Are you got any snow yet?
Not yet, or at least not in New York.
Wow.
Or New York City. Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, this is Eugene Braxton. He's another guest that I've had on, and I've actually had him on twice. We had a very extensive talk about his NDE. He has a book out. You can always check that out as well. And, you know, I refer to you. I don't usually use your name, but I refer to your telling me that when person goes through the tunnel, that's the action of leaving the body. Sometimes when I have that conversation with guests, I'll say, well, I've heard that actually the tunnel experience is leaving the body.
Yeah, they're and exiting or entering the body, like for an out of body. But they what they see and believe they're experiencing is actually their spirit body coming out of the physical, and it's rising upward. And often the spirit body will exit from the head or top of the head. Although I've heard it could exit from the stomach area too, with near that silver cord. But yeah, so they feel it. They feel it just like when you're having a falling dream, and you realize that you're falling in a dream, but in reality, a lot of times, not always, but half the times, the person is coming in from an out of body that they perceived as a dream. They didn't realize that it was an out of body. Had they realized, they would have woken up in the dream, in a completely dream world of their own, or woken up invisible, but in real life. So that's a nice thing when that out of body can switch to, the dream can switch to an out of body.
Well, since your NDE, have you had dreams where you felt you can tell the difference that it's not a dream, but you were out of body flying around the cosmos or whatever?
Yeah, a lot of times you won't realize until you wake up. But I've had them after the NDA, which I had when I was 15, so that's a while ago. I've had those experiences, differentiating between the out of body, the dream, lucid dream, and being consciously awake or just semi. Because that's a weird thing when you're in a dream and you're conscious but not fully conscious. You're not aware that you're dreaming. Right.
I had a dream expert on a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about how some dreams are more real than others, and I'm not saying she's wrong. She was just saying, I think her viewpoint was it's just that more of your senses are involved. But I still kind of wonder, maybe some of these dreams that are just as real as life being awake, that maybe they're not just a more sensible dream. I mean, maybe you're having some type of an experience.
Yeah, it's interesting to practice and develop those dream capacities, because then you learn a lot about the consciousness, the levels of consciousness, how to not control them, but how to work with them, and how to develop them. And also, the dream state is a good place to practice and get used to the other higher state. It develops. It's like a gym,
How would you practice? How would you practice in your dreams?
With you would first start by with the meditational breathings that will allow you to remember the dreams more clearly and be awake in them. And you'll have way more of a chance of being awake in the dreams. Then a steady bedtime, writing them down, the dreams. Some crystals, if you have a sticky memory or you have lapses in the dream, you can put some crystals under your pillow. That'll sharpen it up. The breathings, and then the regular observation of the dreams and the writing them down. That'll help you to remember and start getting used to having like an orderly dream workout every time you go. And in fact, Jeff, the afternoon naps are some of the best times to have an out of body or a lucid dream or just a super vivid dream, because you're not as dead tired.
What type of crystals are you talking about? Quartz crystals?
The quartz is what I use, but any of the colors, like you might, someone might like a special color of purple or green. I used, or pink quartz, but I used the regular white quartz crystals. And they're inexpensive. In fact, if you get a jar of peanut butter, stick a charcoal briquette in it, leave it for a while, it changes into a crystal. The peanut butter somehow breaks it down. So
wow,
someone wants. Yeah, I saw that on YouTube, and I had heard about that, but I saw that on YouTube. Yeah,
that's amazing.
So that's an inexpensive way to make it.
That's amazing.
And you could. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I was
Yeah.
going to say that I knew of somebody who I think he never remembered a dream in his life and considered himself that he didn't dream. And one night he taped a crystal to his chest when he slept, and he remembered in his dream, and I think it kind of spooked him or freaked him out.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom was the exact kind. I knew she dreamt, but she said that she never remembered them. And some of that was because she told herself, I don't remember them. And like the subconscious will just obey that, especially after you repeat it for a while and believe it. And so, but there were some dreams that she could recall, but she swore that she couldn't remember them. Dad was the opposite. He remembered his dreams and stuff.
All right. Do you have anything new since the last time I saw you? Anything new going on that you can tell us about?
Not really. Getting ready for, I'm actually working on 2 books and 2 films. So getting ready for that Betty Hill, and been shopping that around a little.
Oh, great.
And then, yeah, that's one of the things. And then just kind of lightly researching, because I'm working on the first book, and then getting ready for that second book, which is actually half done. So I try to get some, it's not much free time I can get, but whenever I do, I try to maybe get a day where I can just do nothing, because there's always something to do. If you have 2 books and then 2 films that you're working on, that's a lot.
What is the second book? Is that going to be on your NDE as well?
Yeah, the second book, that's a good question. The second book will, the first book ended with me waking up on what seemed to be a UFO ship. So as like a cliffhanger. The second book will go fully into the UFO phenomenon, and then it will lace together, because I didn't include everything in that first book about the near death and life after that. I saved some things for the alien side of it. And during my work, I think, as I told you, I saw some anomalies, UFO anomalies in the book. So I went to Dr. Jacobs, the then world authority, and we both worked at Temple University.
Right.
So I would go over to his office, talk to him, and this lasted one-on-one for 12 years. So I want to study that up fully, know his stuff, and then see what I made of all it. And he agreed. He saw some UFO, a fair amount, he said, of UFO phenomena or anomalies throughout the near death.
So he actually saw some himself, the actual crafts.
Well, when I told him what had happened, and so did some of my research, that the second book will cover fully. The second book's going to make the first one look like a comic book, because the UFO thing is so much more complicated and 3-dimensional, like a 3-dimensional chess game. And
I think you're probably the first person who's ever came out with the connection of NDEs and UFOs. Is that correct?
The first person in these days, yes. Now, in the 80s, Kenneth Ring, the one of the near-death, pioneers, along with Grayson and Atwater, he saw dual patterns in the UFO and the near-death. He didn't fully understand the full connection. Now, remember, this is like 84, 85. And he didn't fully understand the full connection. But I saw that he was onto something. So I took it to the next level, because I knew about the out-of-bodies, the near-deaths, and the UFO abduction. So I've been abducted, and I have some giant scars. I'll have to get a picture of that and let you check it out. And so I saw what he had done, and then kind of advanced it to the 2000 year and above. So, and he had kind of let it be and gone into other things like the blind near-death people. And so he didn't really pick it up. So I picked it up. It was in one of the research books, and started working with it and testing it, see if it was accurate. At least as what I knew as an experiencer. And it was very good. So I saw the similar things in the near-death, my near-death. And and UFO abductions. I just laced them all together. I sewed it up really nice. Where once, just like the near death, with this abduction thing, once it's laid out, especially the UFO connection to life after death, and that's a subject that they're interested in when they talk to people. Once it's laid out, you can easily see it. Like I could do some now, but it's going to be really good.
It wasn't your book, the first book that was published, connecting the UFOs to the NDEs?
This next, yeah, I lightly talked about it in the book, very lightly. The researchers would see it, but the second book will definitively cover it. I was one of the first ones in the modern day research to start talking about it.
Right.
And they couldn't understand that because the near death was something that was not even really known too much about 20, 30 years ago. I started about 24 years ago.
Right.
And so I saw some interesting things, checked it out with the Dr. J, thought about it some more. And I had a long time to near death to think about all this stuff and run it through my mind and see what other people were thinking and go back. And so it's going to be nice. And yeah, it'll tie up the UFO involvement in the near death and in life after death. Yep. Gonna be nice. Right. So it was one whole book that I split in half.
You got a working title for the new book?
Not yet. But the body and the subject matter is really good, and the research part is good. All I have to really do is collect all the chapters together, and put some extra words and explain more. Also, the second book will I will super revamp all the information that was in the first book, and just like the real life scientists don't tell the public everything about their research, like the controller, a controlling figure, because it represented God force or the opposite of God force. So I withheld anything that would tip potential research rivals off to what I was doing, and kept it heavily near death, life after death, with just some slivers in it, inklings, so they would be prepared for the next one. So it's going to be interesting. So I'll actually redo the first one and then do the alien side of that, because they have a high interest in the nature of our soul, who we think God is, life after death, consciousness. So it's.
When do you think you're going to be finishing it up?
I don't know. I had a stroke like 8 months after the first book came out. And there was twice where I stayed up for a month working, or wait, maybe not a month, maybe 2 straight weeks. So I'm just going to do it as I can, when I can. And let's see, it's halfway done. It's 21, almost 22. I'd like to say within 3 years. I have no kind of pressure or under any obligation to rush. I can do it at my own pace and timing. And I definitely, once I start writing, I'll just continue till it's done. And but I don't know, maybe 3 years.
All right, well,
it's pretty involved, but it's fun to write.
Well,
to explain it.
I'll look forward to having you back once you have it published and we can talk about it.
Well, that'll be a couple years from now.
Right. All right, Eugene. Well, I better run along to the next one. I got someone in the waiting room, but thanks for showing up and hanging out with us tonight. And I hope you're doing well, bud. Stay warm up there.
I will. You too. And I like the show a lot, as always. Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye. You too.
All right, that was Eugene Braxton, and you can see, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but he was in twice. We did it. That was the first time that I did one, and then it opened up my schedule. It just happened. Hello.
Hi, Jeff. I haven't done this before, so okay.
All right. Well, you're almost here.
Hi.
Hello. hello. That's should I call you hello?
No, my name's Teresa.
Teresa. So, all right. Where are you zooming from today?
suburb of Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, wow. How is it up there? Are you getting any snow yet?
Cold. Yeah, we've had a little snow, but none today, thankfully.
When you say cold, what is the temperature for you?
I think it's been a lot in the 20s during at night. So
Yeah,
early morning 20s. The highest we've gotten in the last week is around 50.
Wow. See, 50 is like cold for us here. What is like really cold? Do you guys get below zero very much?
Sometimes, but this is southeastern Wisconsin and we have the lake effect, so we don't get as cold as the northern part.
Do you get a lot of snow there?
Depends on the year.
Mm.
Expect the unexpected in Wisconsin.
Wow. I think I'd like to visit up there at least in the summertime because I think I need it's so hot here. I need a place to cool off. And what is your summers like?
Oh, they're nice. Most of the time they're very mild.
Like in the 80s?
Anywhere from 70s and 80s mostly. Sometimes we get 90s.
So see, it's 80 degrees when I wake up in the morning. Then it's 100 by, middle of the day.
Wow.
So 80 would be nice.
Yeah, it is nice. I do enjoy having the cool weather. I don't think I could live in a real warm weather climate. At least not a humid one.
I'll say one last thing and then we'll get into your story. But it's funny is that when it's almost 100 every day for a while, and one day it happens to be like 90, 92, you can actually notice it. And you're like, wow, 90's nice. It's funny, but it's a nice break from 100. Wow, it's 90 today. It's kind of nice outside.
Sure.
So what's been going on with you paranormally or supernaturally?
Well, I've had so many things my whole life. So I guess I'll just start with the very first experience that I had. And I have a memory of actually floating into my body when I was a toddler, like actually coming into my body.
Interesting.
So I guess it was, I just had this feeling of intense love, like I've never felt on this earth. When I popped into this room, and I remember I was by the window in the room and I could perfectly describe the room. It was yellow, and my brother's crib was there and my crib was there. And I had a cross above my bed, and I remember confirming this with my mom too, because I kind of played with my mind over the years. It's like, did I really have this memory? But no, she confirmed that's what the room looked like. And so I remember entering my body, and I remember having some sort of a download. It was like it was what my life was going to be like, or what I was supposed to do in my life. And unfortunately, I can't remember everything. I can't remember it.
I know. How old were you when this happened?
Maybe between 1 and 2, maybe.
Now, did you think that you left and came back, or you were like a walk-in and you just came in for the first time, or what was going on?
That's a great question, and I've pondered that a long time. I don't know. Either's a possibility. It was just my consciousness was in that room, and I felt like I was entering, that it was me entering for the first time. That's what it felt like, because I had this download, and I remember after it was done, I was like, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do now. Let's go meet my parents, but my dad's not home right now. So
that's interesting.
It's like I knew that. So yeah.
That is really interesting. Maybe the spirit that was here decided, maybe not, or maybe we don't enter the body till later, like what you're saying.
I don't know.
Some interesting questions.
It is very interesting questions. I
think. Have you had any abilities your whole life because of that?
Yeah, in fact, when I was younger, I would often know things without even being told, and I was very psychic, and I've had a lot of experiences where even knowing, like, when people die, when my grandmother came to visit me, and it's just all kinds of things like this.
All right. What is the most significant thing that's happened to you paranormally in your life besides what you've told us?
Oh, besides what? Oh, an angel in my room, maybe.
Wow, yeah, that's there. What happened with that?
I absolutely don't understand the whole event because it was more or less, it appeared and I like floated out of body to this angel and handed the angel like 3 scrolls, and I don't know the meaning of it or what, but I just remember this intense love in the room and this feeling and this pull towards source. And it was like the room had this light, and the angel was shielding me from seeing all the light because I felt like if I saw it, I might just leave the world at that point. And um, that was quite intense and quite an experience.
Now the angel was there, though you weren't hurt or anything. That wasn't the
No,
reason why the
no,
angel
it was
showed up.
some kind of a messenger angel. I
Mm.
was I felt like it was some kind of a contractual thing that I was to do. I was at a point in my life that maybe there was something new that I was to undertake and take that next step.
Have you had OBEs your whole life? 'Cause that's what it sounds like.
Yes, I think I have.
How often do they happen to you?
It was quite frequent. Even when I was a teenager, I remember having quite a few, and I would have the most spectacular events happen in flying dreams. And I remember even a counselor once when I mentioned, oh, I just love my dream. I love to sleep because, and they thought I was depressed because I enjoyed my sleep and dream so much, but that wasn't necessarily the case. But it certainly was a good relief from life because
From reality.
from reality, yes.
Have you had anything recent, or maybe I should ask, what is the most recent thing that's happened to you?
I have a lot of things that happened, but the most one was interesting thing that happened, and it's way out there. I was kind of just lingering in space, just and just kind of hovering there, and there was a big black entity, darkness, that was there, and I just turned away from it and went back to my body, and a feline being followed me back to my body, back to where I was, and appeared kind of in the room and said to me, "Are you okay?" Checking up on me.
We were just, I don't know if you were here earlier, but we were talking about feline entities.
I heard a little bit of that, yes.
But we
I
were
did
talking
hear that.
about that maybe those are the Lyrians. Have you had any extraterrestrial contact?
Perhaps. When I was about 8 years old, again, I had an OBE where there was a man that was standing outside under my window and said, "Come and take a walk with me." And I have to say that during this whole experience, I had this intense feeling of love. And he was walking with me and telling me that how the world was going to change when I was an adult. And he
Has it come
said,
true?
Somewhat. He said basically, and I think that's what drove me to call in actually, because what he told me was that towards when I was an older adult, that there would be more people that would be starting to be able to talk telepathically, and that the world was going to change considerably. He said it will not be the same as it is today. There will be a huge transformation, and that I would be part of it.
Interesting. Well, maybe at least you're a part of it just right now being on the show.
Well, that's why I wanted to share. Normally I'm very shy and nervous. So
well, I couldn't tell that. You did great.
Oh, well, thank you. That's because I can't see the people listening.
Yeah, maybe that's it too. Because there's, it's funny. I think I've said before, there's 275 well, now 276 people watching, but I don't see 276 people. I just see you. So
Right.
they're there, but you don't sense they're there. Do you feel the same way?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a great thing because, okay, all 200, well, now it's 280. All 280 of you, we've both confirmed that we don't feel like there's an audience there. We just feel like it's just me and her together alone.
Right.
So there's no need to be nervous, right?
No. And I feel I would like to share because I would like people to come forward and realize how spiritual they are.
Yeah.
And it's just a blessing to realize that, because otherwise, what are we here for? And why be depressed and why worry so much and live in fear when there's something so much greater out there for us?
Right. Let me ask you this. What about the actual act of sharing right now? Was it anything spiritual? Maybe you won't be able to answer this till tomorrow, but I wonder if the people who do come forward and share, do they get anything out of it spiritually by doing their sharing?
I think probably they do.
Yeah.
It seems a bit selfish to hold on to it when there's people that need to hear it and need to know.
Yeah. And that's a great thing that you said, because I read a lot of the comments. I don't read them all, but I read a lot of them. And a lot of them, I mostly read the comments when there's a brand new video, but there's comments going on probably almost all of my videos all the time. But I mostly check the newest ones. But there's so many comments that people are thanking for these videos that it really helps them. So whoever you are that shares, you may be helping somebody that you don't even realize that you're helping somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I need to run to the next person, but I appreciate you coming on and sharing, and you have a lot of stories, so I hope you come back and share again.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Thank you so much, and you have a great rest of your weekend.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Don't report. So we've got 2 people. These are my last 2. I'm making a last call for these last 2 people to be in here. And then hopefully we'll go from there. Did you get Topo Chico? Yeah, that's what I wrote. It's okay. I was trying to. Yeah. Oh. I was asking my wife if she could bring me a Topo Chico, and I kind of wrote it on a note so I wouldn't have to, say, honey, can you bring me a Topo Chico, please? But, she didn't understand my note. It was on a piece of paper with a whole bunch of stuff on there. Anyways, L, can you make it in? We have L, and I have a pretty good feeling that Huawei Y9 Prime is John Scott. And I'll finish it up with him. Just because I remember that I'm pretty sure it's him because that's such a different cell phone. That's probably like the name of his cell phone. All right, we almost got L. We've got L in visually, but we don't have the audio. It's connecting. Hopefully it'll connect here in a second. All right, we're almost there. Ask to unmute. Elle, are you with us?
Yes, hello.
Hello, Elle. I'm glad you made it. What should I call you, Elle? And where are you zooming from?
Yes, L works, and I'm from Michigan.
From Michigan. All right, great. I think the guest that I'm going to post tomorrow was from Michigan.
Oh, okay.
And I had a good UFO guest from Michigan. Have you seen any UFOs up there?
No, I wish. That would be really cool. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, I have never seen a UFO.
Is it cold up there?
Yeah, it just snowed a lot today, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
What
So
part of
pretty cold.
Michigan?
I live in like the middle of the mitten.
All right. That's, I guess, Detroit is on one side and something's on
Yeah.
the other side. Actually, I think that's kind of close to where that guy saw that UFO.
Oh, I'll have to keep an eye out. I have actually seen. No, well, that wasn't in Michigan, but I've seen like I don't know if it was an angel or what, but I have seen something in space before. But I've never seen a UFO.
I think he thought that UFOs may be in Lake Michigan. They have a base down there.
Oh,
Maybe. Either that or
base?
what's the other side? Superior?
Oh, Lake Superior?
My knowledge of Michigan is not that great, and it should be. But I thought one side's Lake Michigan, and what's the other side? Is that Lake Superior on the other side? What are the lakes on each side? Well, I guess there's one on top, really, right? There's one on the left, and then there's one on top.
Yeah, I think that might be Erie, the other one, but
Okay.
I'm not an expert myself. I should know, but
Oh, that's okay.
yeah.
So what's going on with you, supernaturally or paranormally?
So I have a few stories, like a few short stories, but I know there's not a lot of time,
Mm-hmm.
and so I have one that's like a scary paranormal story, and then two that involve going to the void. So I was
Wow.
wondering if there's one that you think that I should share or two.
Well, let's have you talk about the void, and you can come back next week and give us the other ones.
Okay. Okay. So I guess I'll share this one because I feel like this one's the most like an NDE, even though I didn't die. Um, but okay, so back years ago, I used to experiment with psychedelics, and I know that some people they might not think that they might think that if you take a psychedelic, then your story it doesn't really mean much, but all I can really say is what happened, and then people can kind of like take what they want from it, I guess. But
Were you
so
taking DMT or ayahuasca?
no, I've never taken those, but it was mushrooms.
Okay.
Yes. So I was hanging out with some friends at Lake Michigan, actually, on a campground, and we took some shrooms, and I was just in a really bad state of mind, and I was just thinking about how like I treated people and stuff, and um, it just went downhill fast, and I started just having a bad trip, and things got really weird, and a lot of stuff happened, and suddenly it felt like I I was in the center of all of this negativity. Like it felt like I guess the best way I could describe it is like how do I say it? Like suddenly it felt like I wasn't really experiencing reality here. It was like on the spiritual plane or whatever you want to call it, astral plane. I'm not really sure, but it felt like I was in the center of everything negative in the world, and it was just all surrounding me. And it felt like everything bad that you could think of happening was happening to me at once, but like in a spiritual or energetic way. So obviously not really physical, but just like energetically. And it was just horrible. And I guess I let out a blood curdling scream, and it was like nighttime, so all these people are sleeping in their tents and whatever. And I guess I did that, and then so yeah, I'm feeling all this like I'm being attacked and whatever, and I scream, and then all of a sudden, bam! It's just I'm in a dark void, and yeah, I was just like in this dark void, and it just felt like I don't have my body or anything. It's just I'm just, I guess you could say, floating or whatever. And my first immediate thought was, where's my mom? And then I heard her voice say, "I'm right here," in like this most loving voice. And it was just so peaceful and comforting. And then my next thought was, where's the name of this person I was in love with at the time? His name was Nick. And I was like, where's Nick? And then he was like, "I'm right here too," or whatever. And the same kind of peaceful, loving voice. And it wasn't, I didn't think like, where's God or anything like that. I guess when I knew that they were there, that's all I really needed. And then with knowing they were there, the knowing also came that everyone I ever knew and loved, I guess, was there too. And that was followed just by this complete feeling of bliss and love like I've never experienced before on earth. And so I don't know if that, I was thinking about that lately, and I don't know if that would be what God is, or maybe if that's God's energy or whatever. But yeah, it was just like this total blissful feeling. And then it was like I just accepted that we were all there together and everything was going to be okay. And then it just kind of faded into nothingness. And then I woke up and I was like back to, I guess you could say, normal. I was like still kind of tripping, but I wasn't freaking out anymore. I was just like, I was traumatized, but then I was just like back to normal, I guess. And yeah, so that's what happened, and I'll never forget it. So
Now, was that experience like any other experience you've had while taking mushrooms, or was that something completely different? Or was that maybe your only time you did mushrooms? I don't know.
I did them a couple other times, and then I did like LSD and a lot more times than that, but I never had anything like that happen. And I did them quite often because I was I was always trying to like experiment and figure out the truth of life and whatever, and I never had anything like that happen. So only that time. So
Did it feel just as real as being alive normally?
yeah, it felt very real. Like looking back on a lot of trips I had or even dreams, it's like, okay, like I don't know if that was really real, but like that, yeah, that felt so real. So I don't know if I've contemplated if that was, if there is a God, if that was God saving me from the bad trip, or my mom, she thinks that it was like my brain saving myself, but I don't really know if I agree with that, because I feel like the brain causes so much problems, and there's never been a point in my life where my brain helps me in a bad situation where I'm like freaking out. I guess like I have to like make myself calm down or whatever. So I don't know. Yeah.
Do you feel like you've been spiritually transformed by that experience? Are you a different person because of that experience in any way?
I would say in a way, yes, because it makes me think. I haven't ever forgot it. And like when I started watching like NDEs, like I was watching a lot of your videos, it made me think, what about that and what it all means. So I feel like it's one of those experiences where it does change you forever, because you keep thinking about it and trying to figure out, what does that mean? And now I feel like I'm even closer. Nowadays I feel more, I feel like there really could be a life after death or something. I mean, yeah.
Well, cool. All right. Well, thanks for coming and sharing with us. I appreciate that. Like I said, maybe you can come back next time, Elle, and we can talk about. I guess you said you had a scary one, so we can talk about that next time.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Cool.
Don't want to scare anyone, but
well, that's okay. We'll be
all right.
right.
Well, thank you.
It was nice meeting you, and thanks for coming. And have a great rest of your weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. All right. So, can you guys handle a scary one next time? And this will be our last guest of the evening. Let's see. Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. We're waiting for Huawei. Is that how you'd pronounce that? Huawei or Huawei? How would you pronounce that? Is it Huawei or Huawei?
Hang on. Just trying to get my.
I'm trying to figure
just trying
out.
to get my earphones working here.
I'm trying to figure out how do we pronounce your phone. Is it Huawei?
Well, I'm not Chinese, so I really don't know. I think they say Huawei.
Huawei.
Is it Huawei?
Huawei.
Huawei.
19.
Huawei.
Do you have a new
Y9.
Do you have a new painting behind you?
Look, I'll be honest. I just snuck it there to make it look like I'm working.
Oh, I like the colors. I like the green colors that you put there. They're nice.
Well, yeah. Look, as an artist, finding pigments, new pigments. You know, a lot of people sort of are into tech and using PCs to do artwork nowadays, the digital age, and it takes away so much of the tactility of working. Hang on, I'm just going to take that.
Interesting.
Down.
I could never
It
think
takes the
that.
tactility away of actually painting, right? It's like playing music. I mean, you construct music on digital, and it loses that analog feeling, as you know. Like, I know many musos, and you play music, and so, but when you play live, there's this flow, there's this rhythm, and it can speed up and slow down, and we don't know really what actually drives that. It's something that's like a connectivity, and well, when you feel it, you know it. You know what I mean? It's like something that borderlines on spiritual. You might be in your bass run, and all of a sudden you can just feel the tempo changing. It just fractionally, it might be a couple of beats a minute, but when they've got a click on, a track click, it's like it kind of loses it. It's like a robot. You know what I mean? You get it. You get it.
I just wonder if I feel like that paintings will never be replaced by digital art, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not in that world.
Well, I'll be honest. The process is a spiritual process, because whilst I'm painting, I channel. I get guides that come through, and I know that I'm at a point of ruining a painting, usually near the end, and I think, no, I've ruined it so many times. 9 times out of 10, I go, I've ruined this. I've ruined it. I've pushed it too far, and then I ask for help, and I can feel spirit comes in. For everyone, it's different, but I get this cold gust. And then I get like a little insertion into my mind, and it's like, whoa, that's pushing it over the cliff. So I do it, and it works. So every painting, I always bless it, because it's not coming from me, Jeff. I know my work is not coming from me, not anymore. It used to, but it's not a cognitive thing anymore. It's very much intuition. This is something that.
Can you ever take your consciousness out of the painting and just let them completely paint without you?
Yeah, I think, yes, you can. I'll be honest, I've done it, but I think you can only do it when you've had so many years of experience doing a process that it becomes automatic. And so, initially when you learn any form of any of the arts, whether it's dance, music, anything that you do, you become so honed to the habit. And then one day you shift. There's this shift where you automatically don't even think. I don't think which brush to pick up or what paint to mix. See, I don't even see colors anymore. When I say I don't see colors, I don't name them. This is blue, this is this is that. I'm looking at tonal shades, hues, values, things like that. And it's automatic, and you automatically adjust. There's that intuitive adjustment happening visually, but it's on an intuitive level. And so for me, I've taught people art, and I sort of like to really start with basics by saying there's no such thing as blue, because when you look at the sky, turn your head sideways and you'll see it'll shade darker to light when you get to the horizon line. So this is a really interesting concept about naming things in general, naming reality, and it gets quite esoteric, and you get into areas of what they call glossosyntax, which is about construction of words or semantic as words as reality. And this is why the oral semantic is impossible to describe a lot of these experiences that we're having especially OBEs, NDEs. And so the only way we can put them all together is lay them all out on the floor, look for similarities and pattern recognition, and then take away commonalities rather than differences, if that makes sense.
I know you're a type of person that likes words, likes the history of words, the meanings of words.
Yep.
I wonder if you caught my podcast the other day with the woman, oh gosh, I just had her the other day, I don't know why I can't remember, with Marissa Nina Goldberg, who speaks Hebrew. And we were talking
No, I missed
about,
it, sorry.
It was a good one. You might like that one.
Okay, I'll go back.
We were
over
talking
and check it.
about English words that come from Hebrew words, and even like the archangels, like Raphael. It's really Raphael, and El means God, and Rapha means healer. So Raphael is healer God.
Yeah.
Gabriel is whatever God. Michael is another God.
That's correct.
And I said, I knew you were into that kind of
absolutely
stuff.
And you got to remember that Hebrew and Paleo-Hebrew, there were language groups prior to that. Hebrew and Paleo-Hebrew didn't spring out of a vacuum. Like we've had the Euphrates Semitic Basin. I mean, you look at a lot of the words, say Semitic words, and when I say Semite, the actual word was Shemite. So Shem, again, has an esoteric occult attachment to the middle pillar of the tree of life. If anybody studies the tree of life, there's 3 pillars. And there's an allegorical story, a biblical text, where they talk about the sons of Noah being Shem, Japheth, and Ham. Well, Shem, these are actually constructing the tree of life using allegorical stories. So the word Shem, I mean, even breaking down the words, I mean, I've gone right down into consonants and vowels. And this is where the ancients, I'm talking ancient, I'm talking, way back further than Hebrew, because there's a lot of words like ish, for example, ish and ush. And I was reading a lot of material by Leonora Leet, who's a PhD. She's since passed away, but she was right into Kabbalah and mystical Kabbalah. But she said, look, a lot of these terms like ish were also in Hindu. And this syllable ish, ISH, or, this construct, whether it's a suffix or a prefix, are also in words like Krishna or, Vishnu. It contains the word ish.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the word ish and ishanim means man and woman in Hebrew. That's a very basic level. But what I found out after my NDE, that language has 2 meanings. There's a mundane meaning, but then there's a hidden esoteric meaning. And this is where just screaming out names of deities is fine, but God doesn't. God listens to something much deeper than our voice. And I talk about this in my book about the construction of sound. Someone asked me the other day about did I hear any music during my NDE, and I said yes, I did, but not. Well, I said no initially, but you've got to define what is music. And I was shown that sound. This isn't words are sound, but words are broken constructs of pure sound. And these sounds, you go right back into seed syllables. Like ah is a sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have another sound. Hum, and they all vibrate. These sounds vibrate these centers in our energetic body. See, a lot of people aren't even up to speed on the energetic body. I mean, we've had 60 years of Hinduism and Buddhism and Eastern mysticism, but a lot of the Western religions have sort of fallen. They're a bit slow on the uptake of this. But the ancient Hebrew mystics, well, some people mentioned the Essenes, like on the channel today. Well, the Essenes, I felt, were probably a connect to ancient Egyptian mystery schools. And of course, they were like modern day hippies. They probably imbibed on mushrooms and things like that. And they were right out. And of course, people don't want to hear this. But, the inquisition of human consciousness about esoteric peoples practicing this stuff has been ongoing for thousands of years. So anything that's new or out there is like, oh, no, we don't want to hear about that. That's evil. That's demonic, right? Well, you better throw out all your jazz records. You better throw out every single record you got out there, people, because most of those guys were on heroin and, they were on opiates and all sorts of stuff. And we find this to be true. So getting back to the sound, I found out I occasionally do channel still. And, you know, I know that it's authentic because it's actually coming back to some biblical scriptures, and I'm marrying them where the contamination has come over time, if that makes sense. And there has been contamination through like Chinese whispers, where original documents are inaccessible, Jeff. We can't get at them like the Dead Sea Scrolls. You and I can't get to them before someone has edited them or interpreted them according to a chain of events.
Right. Now, you mentioned you channeled. Who do you channel?
Well, in my book, and I don't talk about this much, and people say, did I see Jesus? No, I didn't see Jesus, but I know who he is, exactly who he is, and what he represents. I know who Buddha is, because I saw an overview of religion and beliefs. But I spoke with an entity, it was called TEM, T-E-M, and I didn't, you know, and I struggled with that because, well, I didn't have a belief. I was an atheist. So maybe it gave me that name just so I could have a mental anchor, because, you know, I'm telepathically talking with the light, and it did introduce itself, but it shifted over a few names, and I'm not to mention those names in my lifetime. But the one I can say was Tem, and I later found out that the Tem, or the Artem, was a very, very ancient Egyptian god. And this Artem was either called Tem, Temu, T-E-M-M-U, or Tem, or the Artem. So it had three names. So when I did a bit more research on this, I realized that ancient Egyptian pharaohs used to have constructed names. And the names were like you'd have four concepts. This is how deep their mind was. They had four concepts in the name which married to the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. So you're dealing with some really advanced linguistics. And so, for example, Akhenaten, Ak-n-a-ten, that's a four constructed word. And the word Ak has come through as our common word Ark, like Archangel, Ark of the Covenant. It's spelled differently. Like in the ancient Egyptian text, it's A-H-K. And it came from, you know, it was part of the word Ankh, A, H, and K, are seed consonants and vowels that are actually in the word Ankh. So you see, Ak, N comes from N, which is Nun, which is the primeval waters, which had a lot to do with baptism rites. Ak and A is the moon, or the moon goddess. And Ten was the name given to the initiate to complete receiving a name from God. See, the Bible and a lot of sacred texts still hold this notion of getting a name and a sacred name, but the ancient priests never mentioned the name. I mean, you get this Jesus and Elohim and all of these constructed words and names. They were states of consciousness, like a ladder. And the higher you went, there was a different name associated with it. It was like a map, Jeff. It was like a map of consciousness with a specific name for a specific state of consciousness. Does that make sense?
Well, I think so. Do you think that ancient Egyptian is really the oldest civilization on Earth? Do you think they really go back longer than the Sumerians?
Absolutely. I'll say that 100% absolutely.
I think some people will say that those things in Egypt are 10,000 years old, 20,000 even years old, like the Sphinx and stuff.
Well, I got 450,000, and this is incomprehensible. It's incomprehensible, these numbers. But we have to remember that we didn't have 7 billion people on the planet. So there might have been just, say, 900,000 or 1 million, say, or 2 million. And it was manageable within a particular cosmology. So there was just the right amount of souls coming into Earth as we're leaving. So there was a healthy balance, and the system was completely different to what we have today.
So do you think it was an ET civilization?
Originally, yes.
Yes. And they think that do you think that they created humans?
Well, this is a really contentious issue. Because I remember I watched the Eben Alexander podcast you had the other day, and I watched it very carefully. And Eben, I'm not going to discredit him in any way, shape, or form. I think it's fantastic that the neurosurgeons had this experience. But he struggled with the question that you asked him about the interface between the duality between the brain and spirit, or consciousness itself. But he mentioned duality And you mentioned duality, but that wasn't theological duality. That was materialist duality, meaning brain spirit interface, which is a different duality. When you're talking about theological duality, different kind of thing altogether. And why I mention this is because the people who were our elders, we were not slaves. This was what I was shown very succinctly. It was a symbiotic relationship between humans at their highest spiritual potential were kind of like caregivers. They were the ones that were in charge in a pyramid system. Okay, that's the notion, pyramid system, top down in a power flow. It was a perfect system. And I talk about this in my book, that there's two perfect systems have collapsed. So we've had to take a new direction, so to speak. And that new direction was to try to wake every single human being up to their own spiritual potential, rather than having people controlling us. So every empire that has fallen since ancient Egypt has tried to recreate the old Egyptian system because they thought it was a perfect system. Well, that system fractured and broke. It's evident. Look at Egypt today. Look at the pyramids. There was only one pyramid. That's what I was shown. The other pyramids were built in flaw, in error, once these initial rites had been fractured. And people, you know, where do the ETs come into this? Well, I was shown that we were made by ETs, and people get really funny about this. And they say, well, they're demons. I said, well, if they're demons, then we're doomed, because they're millions of years ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
If they can fly billions of light years across the universe, they don't need to just infiltrate us slowly. They can just wipe us out. I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? There's no logic in that. So obviously there's something going on that is beyond the duality of what's going on down here, because we are in duality. We have this good and evil happening on the planet, this war going on. And then you have these other fringe, and I call them fringe, forms going on, like ETs. We've got ships in the desert. We've got reverse engineering, supposedly, in America and other countries. They've got real craft. People are getting in contact. There's contact happening left, right, and center. And me personally, I think that this contact had to be matriarchal, meaning anyone who was open to it. Because we know the government's not going to disclose. They're not going to disclose anything to us. They won't even, you know, the government seems to want to hide this. And they're doing a good job of it, because they're feeding narratives that don't really, you know, they're not kosher. There's all these different stories going on. You don't know what to believe unless your level of discernment is so tuned in. And I mean, you've got to be tuned in. And I know some of the players, I know some of the big people that are involved, and, you know, they've approached me to talk, and I won't. I don't want to talk about it because I think it's contaminating our spiritual growth as well. But there is, as Eugene said earlier, there is an interface between the NDE and the extraterrestrial agenda.
Mm-hmm.
There is definitely an interface. Because when I was working on crop circles and interpreting crop circles between 2010 to 2013, I got an anonymous email out of the blue and said, have you had an NDE? And I hadn't spoken about my NDE in public for 30 years, or 27 years by that stage. So I thought, oh, that's a real pointed question. And it was an anonymous BCC'd email. And they said, well, and then someone else contacted me and said, would you like to talk about it? And I was really apprehensive.
This was
because
before
I'd
your
also
book?
had, well, way before my book, yeah. I decided to write my book afterwards, but, you know, I'd had ET contact as well, and it was not malevolent, and it was not demon, but it was very dislocating. Now, I know in my NDE, Jeff, I asked about the pyramids and I got the full gambit. I asked the questions that everyone wants to ask, so I asked them. And I said, you know, what's going on? And they said, well, there's ETs right through. They call them entities, actually. And I don't even use that word. I don't even use that word entity, but I got it. And they said they're right throughout the universe. Literally, they are throughout the universe. And we are technically ETs. We are all hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
We were made and brought up to a level that the level was such that we could communicate with God and keep the telephone line open. But the guy who was using the telephone was obviously very advanced psychically. They were gifted. They had certain gifts that they could do this. And that's who our ancient true elders were. And they kept everything in balance on this planet. And I discuss in great detail why it fell, why it collapsed, because of the structure of consciousness and the way we were made, because we're half animal, we're half hominid, we're half monkey or whatever, or you know, primate, and we're half divine. And this is something that we really need to we need to get maps on this, consciousness maps, to get us away from that lower to the upper. So, and someone was asking a question, Jeff, about background people.
Right.
What do you know about them? I was going to ask you.
I've never read the stuff on Dolores Cannon's, you know.
Nor have I.
She's the one, she's the originator of it. I first heard about it with my guest Gosha, that she claims to have ET contact. Yep. And I don't know if she got it from the ETs or she got it from Dolores Cannon. And we spoke to it recently with, I don't know if you saw the video I did recently with the channeling of Archangel Azrael.
Yeah, I watched that. And a lot of comments were a little bit misguided, because Azrael and Azazel are two different angels. Azazel is an evil entity, and Azrael is a different. And I found it because I'm very attuned to the angelic stuff. That they talked about Azrael, which is the one that I think he was channeling. They just call him Raz.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, that marries. I sort of listened to that, because when I got Tem, I thought, oh, Artem. So obviously it doesn't have to be a Semitic god that you get, you know, and what is a god? You know, there's dimensions beyond dimensions, but
right.
Azrael is a messenger of death. I thought it kind of interesting that he's channeling at this point in human history. I don't know. I've got my own personal issues.
Right. Well,
positive.
Gosha said that don't bother trying to figure out who the background people are, because we can't.
Correct. That's a good point, and I would agree with that, because majority of people, I'll just say that there's good people helping in the background, and that's all they do. They come to Earth and they are literally dedicated for multiple lifetimes to help. They are literally, they know how energy works on some very sophisticated levels. I do feel that the ETs are here to help us, and I've watched quite a few documentaries on the subject, obviously, because that's what I got in my ND, that they exist. I'm hearing things like nuclear silos getting switched off.
Yeah.
You know, all this stuff. So there's not to fear too much about any talks of nuclear war. I think that they're definitely here to help, and I'm feeling like the last month or two, I'm feeling a presence that they're back again. I haven't had anything physical happen, but I know they're here. I'm thinking, oh, they only come during strategic times of danger, and so whether or not they're, you know, it's that's a difficult one. It's a very subtle debate that takes a long time to break down, as you know.
Well, I'm going to have to wrap it up soon, but I hope you will come back. And I would like to, you know, if you feel up to it, I would like to talk to you about crop circles, because I feel like you may be a crop circle expert and you can enlighten us on that.
Sure.
Well,
yeah, look, I can only tell you what,
yeah,
sure. No, definitely. And I can only tell you from my perspective. I'm not the expert on crop circles. What I can say briefly is that I counted up to 30 sciences that it went through, and I can put together a brief point, you know, bullet point on this, because when I got it, and you got to remember, I mean, I'd been studying metaphysics post MD. I'd been a recluse, and I thought, you know, we're hearing stories of Doug and Dave Chorley jumping around with planks after a few pints at night, and they're doing Kabbalistic metaphysics, and I mean deep stuff. And I thought, no, not everyone studies this stuff. This stuff is so esoteric. You know, what are two Australians, anyway, when I did the homework, Doug was dead and Dave, or vice versa, was in an old folks home. So the phenomena has been going. We had over 10,000 crop circles, just for viewers who are listening. Some were man-made, yes, but some were beyond comprehension and physical. I mean, I met a guy who went there, professor of geology, a guy called John Lusk. He went to England with his wife. I met him personally here. I didn't go to England, didn't need to. But he had a little marker. He disclosed he had an ET triangle on his leg. I've got the photo to prove it. He said he definitely had ET contact, and he's a professor of geology. This guy's not into ETs. He was more into getting soil samples, and the stuff that he got, he said that the crystalline content in the soil was changed. The actual science, this is hard science. This is hard science. Put it under a microscope, test it, you look for results. So it's not paranormal. So the crop circle phenomenon was very, very important, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely I'd love to come back and talk about it.
Yeah. All right, bud. Well, thanks for coming in. I hadn't seen you in about a month, so thanks for coming back and hanging out with us. And
that's all right, man.
I hope we'll get you back.
Hey, I noticed you haven't got your flat Earth behind you, dude. What's going on, man?
I know. I need to get my flat up. I need to have.
I'll send you one before the talk.
I need to have one, so whenever you come on, we need to make it like really obviously, like, I don't know if you know the game Minecraft. All the kids play it, but the whole world is all blocks.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
It looks like an 8-bit video game, but it's probably the biggest game in the world. But kids
an
love
8-bit video game. That's like,
it looks. Yeah. You just pull up, just Google Minecraft, and you'll get it. Everything. Minecraft. Everything is blocky. So we need to make a Minecraft Earth. That would be obvious that it's flat.
Okay, I'll see what I can do in Photoshop. Look, on a last note, someone mentioned that whether or not some humans have souls. Yes, we all have souls. Every single human has a soul. That's 100%. It's how advanced or expanded their soul is, because some people have this concept that a soul is a solid thing. And this is going to upset people. It is not a solid thing. It is a constructed energetic construct. And this is something that gets really esoteric during the NDE. You can just not have advanced spiritual understandings, and so your soul might be very small, and those people are not even aware that they have a soul. I mean, you're talking, really dense people who have no empathy, no understanding of causality, no link between other. They're in what I would call a hell realm, and I would like to discuss the hell realms down here because I've been guided through them, and they're all on Earth. I saw no hell on the other side, which gets into cosmology as well, and it's a clash of religious ideals. And but anyway,
talk about that. By the way, have you joined my new Discord group?
I'm a member, but I haven't even waved yet. But look, I'll pop in there.
There's about 148 people in there, so maybe you want to pop in there and say hi to everybody.
Sure. Yeah. I'll question and answer time, it seems.
All right.
Taking me away from my art. Come on.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we need a break. You can go in and chit chat.
All right. No problems, man.
All right, bud.
Love to Mara and
I'm sorry,
love
what did you
Tamara
say?
And yourself. Oh, I said love Tamara and yourself.
Thank you.
Keep going, bud. We've got to get you up to 40,000 subscribers. Let's go.
Yes, we do. All right, bud. Thanks for stopping by.
Okay, man. Cheers, Jeff. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Thank you guys for hanging out with me this Saturday night. I really appreciate you, and I hope you will be back next Saturday night. Have a great rest of your weekend.